Is it going to be audio and video?
Just 911.
The 911 call.
Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
these are, I don't know who may give these to. Those are for
Me.
the jury. If you'll double check that there's 9 there, sir.
Okay,
And then this is one for you.
thank you.
And we gave one to the court.
All right. They are back in court, but they have not started proceedings yet. They're just doing some general paperwork cleanup. There are the opposing lawyers. They're being cordial with each other. Isn't that nice?
Yep. And we sent it. I sent it to him.
I feel like I've seen this.
Judge, I just want to test this. I saw that it works.
I've seen that guy before. That guy behind.
Nor did the address in your emergency.
Well, that
Did not
behind
work.
actually, he just looks very.
These ones, or you have them already, the edited recording and the transcript, do you want them or you don't have to? 2.2, 2.2 and
2.6.
yes, sir.
I haven't done it.
Okay.
Close to the beach. Please remember to hit like on your way in. Thank you very much. They have not.
Yes.
And
And the,
Do my best to try to keep up with everything. I've kind of misled the court, I'm afraid, to some extent. We actually filed an amended defense witness list. Our memorandums have that copy of the
All right.
and I didn't think there was anything significant that was either on there or removed that would change it.
All right. Hope not.
He was connected earlier.
The judge has a very expressive face. Very expressive. And so does the defendant, although I always feel she's very affected. She's so self-conscious, and it's always like, just doesn't seem natural to me. She just doesn't come across like she's ever being natural. And that makes me feel sad. When I see someone who just can't be natural, I feel sad about that, you know? So they haven't started the proceedings yet.
No, it's just audio. Oh, all right. Mark it down.
You know, Hey Sparkles has the behavior of someone who feels like she's always being watched.
All right, Stady, you ready to call them in?
Being watched.
yes, do you want him in now or when the jury comes in? No,
No, the jury.
Oh, the jury. yes.
I apologize. It
meant
wasn't a
the
good
witness.
question.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor, you ready for me to call the jury in?
Ready.
Also, I have been handed a stack of transcripts for the 911 call by John Sant. And it looks like the redactions have been done mechanically with black boxes and black lines. Have you had a chance to review the redacted transcripts?
We have, Judge, we're in agreement.
All right, so everybody's okay with it.
Yes, sir.
Bring them in. All right, you all can have a seat. Welcome back, everybody. You know the questions I'm going to ask. Did anybody discuss the case amongst yourselves or begin deliberations? Talk about the case with anybody outside the jury or do any research on the people, places, things, or legal topics you've heard anything about?
No.
Everybody says no. When we left off, the state was still in presenting its case. So state, call your next witness.
State calls John Sant.
John Sant. Okay, who is John Sant? I wonder if it's law enforcement or something like that.
Raise the clerk, raise your right hand, please swear in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I'm not sure she was with one professionally someday. Sounds like, wow, that sound is just very difficult on the ears.
Hello, sir.
Sorry.
My name is Judge White. I'm going to be presiding over this case. I've been told, sir, that you may need some assisted listening devices. All right. Here's a pair that you can use.
Just keep this facing forward. You should be good.
Wow.
As you see, you might have to turn them around the other way. Yes, sir. I think that'll work better. And the deputy will show you how to adjust it. Oh, did I scare you? Too loud? Okay, sorry about that.
This is volume control.
Okay.
Make sure to keep it forward.
All right, sir. Does that help?
Yes, sir.
All right.
That's
I
fine.
apologize.
Yeah, I really haven't done any digging to see if she was a real, professional ballerina. I haven't seen where she was a real professional ballerina, just a dancer in different companies, but not like, a legitimate, real ballerina. You know what I mean? One that was actually hired professionally to dance in different, you know what I mean? Like an established ballerina. I haven't found anything. If anything, what happened was her and her dead husband started the ballet company where she could be a professional ballerina. And that's what happens a lot, is when people aren't able to be successful in their chosen field, they just finance a company and do it, finance a company and do it themselves. You see what I'm saying? And I feel like that's may have been what happened.
About that, I didn't mean to.
No, that's all right. It's okay.
Sir, my name is Judge White. I'm presiding over this case. Just make yourself comfortable in that seat. Get about 12 to 15 inches from that microphone. It does adjust up, down, left, or right as you need it. Just speak in a loud, clear voice right into that microphone, and we'll be able to hear everything.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Please state your name.
John William Sant Jr.,
How do you spell Sant?
S-A-N-T,
Where do you live?
in 11327 White Rock Terrace in Bradenton.
Okay. And did you live next door to Ashley Benefield and her mother, Alicia Byers?
I did.
Do you still live at that same address?
I do.
Do they still live at the same address?
No,
Okay. Did Ashley have a child when you lived next to each other?
she did.
About how old was the child last time you were together?
At the house, in the neighborhood,
When they were living in the neighborhood?
I'd say 18 months to 2 years.
Okay. And do you remember a day when Ashley came to your house?
Yes,
Okay. Do you remember what day of the week that was?
it was on a Sunday.
And what time of day was it? Light out, dark out?
It was still light, but it was probably early evening. It was between football games.
Okay, so it was between the football games on a Sunday?
Right.
All right. Still light out? What do you remember about Ashley coming over?
From the very beginning.
Right.
Well, I heard a very loud pounding on my door, and kind of startled me. But it was loud. And I went and I looked out through the little window, and there wasn't anyone there. So I thought, well, went to the back and looked out the back. I even looked out the side and didn't see anybody. And I was thinking, well,
Hey, Chopper. I'm pausing to answer your question because we're on real time and it's we have a little, it's okay for us to catch up. It's a self-defense case. Was this woman battered, or was she battered to the point of shooting her husband, or did she just murder him in cold blood? And I have literally I am going to cover Sarah Boone. Yes, absolutely. And I actually have, at a break, I was going to show the ad that she posted for a lawyer. Did you see this? Sarah Boone's wanted ad for an attorney. Inmate seeks attorney. That woman is absolutely insane. So anyway, so we'll talk about that at a break. But anyway, this young woman, Ashley Benefield, married her husband, who is 30 years senior to her, after 13 days of dating or something like that. Got pregnant in like 3 weeks. His wife had just died. And then she got pregnant, and then they didn't even live together for most of the time that they were married. And then they were estranged. And it's a very, very odd relationship, odd case. But she's claiming that he was very, very abusive and scary during the whole relationship. The prosecution says, okay, fine, but the shooting itself was not in self-defense. But I'm coming at this from a juror's perspective. I don't know much about this case, so that's pretty much all I've been able to glean from this at this point, because it is day one. All right.
one of my grandkids has a friend in that area there. And I thought they might be messing around, but I didn't see anything. So I guess it was a few minutes. Nobody, must be just someone screwing around. And it happened again.
The pounding.
The pounding happened again, yeah.
I'm having a little trouble here.
All right,
Yeah, if we can get you to scoot up a little bit, there you go.
sorry. What part do you want me to start at again?
Okay, so the pounding started again.
The pounding started for the second time, yes.
Okay, and what did you do then?
At that point, now I'm starting to get a little concerned. Someone's trying to either break in or a home invasion. And that, so I went back into my room, went into my closet, and I pulled my weapon out.
Okay, and you say weapon, what kind of weapon was that?
It was a Glock 23 .40 cal.
Okay, so you had your own firearm.
Yes, ma'am.
You pulled that out, and what did you do?
I then came from the closet back towards the door and decided at that point, let's look out the door one more time before I load one in and take it to the door. So I just set it down on the little table beside my chair.
So you set the gun down.
Yeah.
Okay.
I left, and then I went back to the door.
What
And
did you?
And I looked out again, and then that's when I saw I saw a leg sticking out. Someone was sitting on the stoop.
Okay, so you saw a leg. You think someone was sitting.
Well, they were sitting.
Okay. So what'd you do?
Well, then I kind of noticed who the leg belonged to, or I thought I did. And I went and I opened the door.
And did you know who it was when you saw the person?
I assumed who it was when I looked out the window.
When you opened the door, could you see who it was?
Well, by the time I got the door open, she was standing up.
So you saw who it was?
Yes,
And who was it?
it was Ashley.
Okay. And you kind of pointed over that direction. You see her in the room today?
She's over next to Mr. Taylor, yeah.
Stipulate that it's Miss Benefield, Your Honor.
Stipulation to ID.
Yes.
Okay. And what did Ashley say when you opened the door?
As soon as I opened the door, before I could say anything, she said, he attacked me.
And is that all she said?
At that point, I said, who? He said, Doug. He attacked me and I shot him.
Okay. Is that all she said to you?
That's all she said.
Did she have a weapon with her?
I didn't say it at that point.
Did you see a weapon eventually?
Eventually,
Where was that weapon?
it was laying down just to the right of my door where I couldn't see it, where I was standing at that point.
And when did you see that weapon?
Well, after she said, and I shot him, I said, well, then you better come in. And I moved to the left to let her in, and that's when I noticed it lying there on the ground.
Okay. And what was it?
It was a handgun. The house, I told her, I said, I can't leave that out there. No, I don't know whether she responded or not, but then I went out, reached down, picked it up by the trigger guard, brought it back in the house, and set it down inside the door.
Okay. And when you say inside the door, was that on the floor or was there a table?
It's on the floor.
On the floor. So once you brought her into the house, where did you go?
Once I brought the weapon in, I shut the door and locked it. And I looked at her and I said, what condition is Doug in? And she said, I don't know. Or she said, don't know. She said, just don't know. I said, where's your mother in Emerson? And she said, at the park.
So you knew her mother and you knew Emerson, her daughter.
Yes,
Okay. And she said at the park.
at the park.
And at some point during this conversation, when she was at your house, did she tell you that that gun was hers?
After listening to the tapes, I was able to hear her say it, but it was really faint, yeah.
Okay. Did you call 911?
I did,
Have you listened to the 911 call?
many times.
Okay. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 1. You can take a look at this. What is this?
The disc, I guess.
It's a
Oh,
disc.
okay, yeah.
The 911 call.
Oh, okay.
And when you listened to this 911 call, was it an accurate representation of your conversation with the person on the other line? Do you
Yeah.
remember?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It wasn't me.
Pardon?
Yes, I recognize my own
Okay.
voice.
The state would enter into evidence State's Exhibit 1.
No objection.
That we received?
What was Ashley's mood when she was there?
I'm sorry, Ashley's what?
Ashley's mood?
Terrified.
Okay. Was she, do you remember her crying?
I didn't remember her crying until I was listening to those tapes, and then it sounded like she was crying, but she just couldn't get any words out. After that last statement about where her mother and daughter were, that was really the last coherent amount of any words that ever came out of her mouth that I could understand. At that point, it was just stuttering and shaking and sobbing.
Okay. So you did not have any other conversations with her, meaningful conversations with her after that?
No, the rest of the conversation was a 911 operator.
Okay. At this point, I'm going to publish State's Exhibit number 1.
Members of the jury, when physical evidence, documents, photographs, video or audio recordings, and so forth are admitted or received by the court, they may be published to the jury. This means shown to the jury. Depending on the type of evidence, it might be shown to you on the overhead screen, through the sound system, handed out for you to look at, or shown to you. Evidence that is admitted or received by the court will be available to you during your deliberations, and you will have as much time as you need to review and consider the evidence. Members of the jury,
Love you.
you are about to listen to an audio recording. The court instructs you that the recording has been edited to eliminate irrelevant portions that would not add to your understanding of the case. The fact that the recording has been edited should not concern you in any way and must not impact the way you listen to, view, and consider the evidence.
Thank you, Judge.
Finally, you are about to hear a recorded conversation. This recorded conversation is proper evidence, and you may consider it just as any other evidence. You are also going to be furnished a transcript of the recorded conversation. The recording is the evidence, and the transcript is being provided to you only as a guide to help you follow along as you listen to the recording. The transcripts are not evidence of what was actually said or who said it. If you notice any difference between what you hear on the recording and what you read in the transcript, you must rely on what you hear and not what you have read. Also, Debbie, any notes that you want to make during the playing of the audio should be on your notepads. Once we have played this audio for you, the transcript, as I said, is not evidence. You will not be allowed to keep the transcript, and the transcript will not go back with you during your deliberations. But the audio recording will be available. So you just take one and pass it down. Help yourself, sir. Yeah, if you want some water. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Manatee County 911, what is the address of your emergency?
Hi, my address is 11327 White Rock Terrace.
Okay, can you repeat that for me to make sure I have it correctly?
The house next door, honey, what's your address? Okay, it's right next door to me. She just came over. Her strange husband attacked her, and she says she shot him. Now, we've not gone over there yet.
Okay, what's his name?
Who?
What is his name?
His name is Doug Benefield.
Okay.
I have not gone over there. I'm not
Okay, I don't-
go back.
I don't want you to go over there. Stay on the line just one moment. I'm going to connect you over to the sheriff's dispatch, okay?
Okay.
One moment.
Calm down, honey. Calm down.
What is your name, sir?
My name's John Sant, KMT. I live next to
Office dispatch on a recorded line. This is Gabby. How can I help you? Hey, Gabby, it's Kieran. On the 11327, I have John Singer on the phone. He's saying the neighbor came over, the female neighbor. It was a domestic. She shot her husband. Okay. All right, I'm going to get that on the screen, okay? Okay. What screen is this for? The 11327 White Rock Terrace. Okay.
That's my address.
That's your address? What's her address? Where does it occur at?
Her address is right next to, I believe it's 11331.
She's on the corner? Okay.
Yes, ma'am, on the corner. She's with me now, quite upset. The weapon is here. Do you want me to go over and look at anything, or just wait for the police?
No, I want you to just wait for the police, okay?
All right, if you could just get them here quick. She came in, she was quite hysterical. I didn't know who was banging on my door. Said that he attacked her, and she shot him.
Okay. I'm just getting that all on the screen, okay?
Okay. I know, honey. Calm down. I know. Go ahead, ma'am.
Where is the gun? Is it with her, or is it just...
I have it right here, ma'am. It's sitting on the floor inside the door.
I find myself wondering why she couldn't call 911 herself instead of going to the neighbor. It seems very much like she went to the neighbor to call 911 so that the neighbor could say, this woman was attacked and she shot. I don't know, but that's what it seems like to me.
Door's locked, so in case she isn't, he can't get up. I'm also armed if he does come over and try to harm her, just so everybody knows.
Okay.
I'm kind of concerned with her mother and the little girl might get back there and find this,
The
whatever
deputies are running
happened.
it.
Don't go out there, honey. Come on. I know. Come on, honey, sit down. Sit down. I know.
Yeah.
I hate how innocent witnesses get roped into stuff like this.
All right, I just want you guys to stay on the phone with me, okay?
No, I'm right here with you. I'm just with her. I'm trying to comfort her. We're in the house. Well, the police are going to want no problem. I know, baby. You got to sit down. Come on. There's no... Well, honey, they want you to stay here. If he isn't, we can't take a chance. That's why I want them to hurry up before
The
you get back from the park.
deputies are moving as fast as their hand. They're coming priority. They're coming lights and sirens. They just want to get and make sure that everything's okay. So where in the house is he?
Where in the house is he? Her bedroom. No, I don't know where that is. So it's one of the bedrooms. It's a lot like mine, so I'm going to assume when you go into is the garage door open? When you go into the garage, it's going to be on the left? On the left.
Okay. Okay. All right, I'm just getting that typed up, okay?
What, ma'am?
I'm just getting everything on the screen, okay?
Okay.
I should have deputy pulling up here soon. Do you see him?
I know. I'm in the back now looking out. I know which way the park is in Central Park here.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Okay, Sheriff's here. Thank heavens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you
Sheriff's car just... Oh,
Yeah, they
what do you
just
want
pulled
us
up to
to
the
do?
other address. I'm going to stay on the line with you until a deputy gets with you, okay?
okay. Okay, the sheriff is here. I'm not too sure where they're going.
I'm just staying on the line with you. The deputies.
I'm right here. I haven't left yet.
I just want to say, it's unknown whether this woman will testify in her own defense. A lot of times in self-defense cases, that's when you see it happen the most. That's when you see it happen the most. So if she testifies, I want to find out, why didn't she call 911 herself? If she did have Botox before the trial, it might explain why her face barely moves. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just see it's a SUV sitting out there in front of my neighbor's house, right in front of my house. Just become, they're going to take you into custody. You know that, right? Okay, just you just calm down and just calm. Okay. I know.
Okay. You just let me know when they come knock on your door, okay?
Are they coming now, the police?
They will. They're waiting for a little bit of additional units. They want to have everything.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm glad they're, geez, we got to get a hold of don't go out until these police officer comes and look.
Yeah, I agree. That
They're gonna let me know what they want me to tell you, okay?
his daughter
They're just waiting to make sure they have other people with them. They don't want anything to get out of hand without having proper backup, you know?
Yeah. Well, like I said, the weapon's here. I just want them to know that exactly where it's just sitting right inside the door. It's on the floor. And I did reach out when she ran in and picked it up off my front patio and brought it in. I wasn't going to leave it outside.
A very responsible witness and citizen.
Here's another police officer.
Is it just inside the front door or the back door?
Say that again?
Is it just inside the front door or like the back door patio area?
I'm by the front door. She came in the front. I'm sitting here staring at an officer right now.
Okay.
Looks like he's talking to one of the other cars. Neither one of them are moving.
Yeah.
Hey, Johnny.
I'll let you know when it's time, when to come out, okay?
Okay. Hey, is that your weapon or his? Okay. Okay. That's why. Let me get my. Okay, just calm down.
Okay. Now the deputies want her to go outside with her hands up, nothing in them. Okay?
You want her to go out?
Yes. They want her to come out with not
Out of my house?
Yes.
Does he know she's in my house?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So you're going to have to go out, okay?
And they want you to stay inside.
Now,
Okay.
put your hands where you can see them, okay? All right. Where's she at?
Just start walking out front. They're outside.
I don't see him anywhere. She sure it isn't her.
Just start walking out. They're not going to do anything. They just want to make sure that everything's safe and that they're safe, okay?
Can I take her out? She's really upset.
No, they want you to stay inside. It says female
Well,
only.
you stay inside on your hand? I don't see it. Now, are they at the right house?
We've told them multiple times which house to be at.
Yeah, 11327. I'm right in front of that SUV that does not have its light. Hold up right there, honey. Where are they at? There's a police officer over on the, with the flashing. Okay, one of them sees her now.
Yeah, just keep her walking out. Okay?
Honey, do they see you?
They're probably giving her instructions, okay?
Okay. Now, I need a police officer to come and get this weapon.
Yeah, they're going to come and get the weapon. They just wanted to make
Okay,
sure.
here they come now. Oh.
All right, folks, just hand those transcripts back down to the deputy. You may resume your question.
At any time during this interaction with Ashley, did she appear to have any injuries?
No,
Did you see any blood on her?
no,
Did she complain of any injuries?
no.
How about her
Hi, Micro Kimmy. Nice to see you.
clothing? Did you notice, was her clothing ripped or anything wrong with her clothing?
Not that I know, no.
Okay. And eventually, did the police come to your house?
If you're just joining us, the gentleman on the stand for the Ashley Benefield trial is the neighbor who called 911 when Ashley went to his house after she shot her estranged husband. And the question left in my mind is, why did she not call 911 herself? Did she not have a phone? Was her phone dead? Or was she trying to go to this guy to be the one to call and say, oh, my neighbor was attacked, so she shot him. She shot the man.
Talk to me?
Yes.
Yes, they did.
Okay. And did they recover that firearm that she had brought over that you left?
They did it while I was outside, because when I went back in, it was gone.
Okay.
I assumed they took it.
Okay. So maybe you didn't see them take it, but
No.
it was gone.
No.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions. The defense may have some questions for you.
Okay.
Cross.
That's right. He made it clear that he touched the gun. He said why he touched the gun. He said he moved the gun from one place to another. He told them exactly where he put the gun and all of that stuff. So he's a witness in as much as she came to his house after it happened. She went to his house after it happened, knocked on his door and said, you know, I shot my estranged husband because he attacked me, and then he called 911.
Afternoon, Mr. Sant.
Afternoon.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Thank you for coming this afternoon. With court's permission, may I approach?
Yes.
Mr. Sant, I've passed you a photograph. I'm going to mark it for identification as fence exhibit number 1, if I can.
Chopper, he probably thought that he was doing the right thing. You know, as long as you tell the police that you did it, you probably shouldn't do it at all. Shouldn't touch any evidence, even if you're going to tell them. But, you know, he was open and honest about what he did. He moved it for some reason, for safety reasons, I guess.
And Mr. Sant,
Yes,
I don't mean to keep startling you. I apologize.
that's okay.
Can I please have that transcript? No, the transcript. Thank you, sir.
There you go.
Thank you.
Mr. Sant, can you identify that?
Well, it looks like my house and Alicia's house at the time.
Yes, sir. And they lived in the house right next door to you, I believe you said.
The one with the red dot on it.
Yes. It was the corner house, correct?
Yeah, right,
And it's got a red dot on it?
right.
All right. Is it an accurate representation of your house in comparison and in position to where Miss Benefield lived?
Yeah.
Would you do me the favor, may I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Would you put a check mark on the roof of your house?
My house.
Yes,
All right.
your house that's depicted in that picture. Okay, we're going to help the jury see how this took place. We'll put it on the overhead. Objection, putting it on the overhead. Can we put it on the overhead?
Absolutely.
Madam Clerk, can you dim some lights for us? Just the jury and the
Presentation.
Got it.
Is this just a demonstrative aid?
Yes, sir. Okay, so, Mr. Sant, just if I may turn your attention, if you could.
This one or the,
Actually, I think maybe you'll be able to see it better on this one. Your
Probably.
chair should swing around.
oh, yeah.
You see the one with the red dot on it?
Yes,
That's Ashley's house,
yes,
and your house is immediately to the left, correct?
yes.
All right. Thank you.
Don't move that mouse.
I'd like to move that into evidence, Your Honor, as defense exhibit number 1 at this point.
Okay. I just asked a minute ago if it was a demonstrative aid or if you were admitting it.
Well, it was a demonstrative aid up until Mr.
So
Sant.
admit things first if you want. Any objection?
And Judge, I recognize it's the state's case, but I have no objection to this exhibit.
All right, received.
Mr. Sant, you've told us that on this terrible occasion, Ashley was terrified.
Yes,
I think you said, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I think you said she was stuttering and shaking,
yes,
pretty hysterical.
yeah, yes.
All right. Now, Mr. Sant, you're pretty familiar with firearms, are you?
Somewhat. I use them. I go to firing ranges now. I'm no expert, but I,
That is, she is very much trying to appear very upset. And there is one indisputable thing, and that is when you cry, your nose runs and you have to wipe your nose, right? I mean, unless I'm wrong, doesn't everybody's nose run when they cry? I think she's trying to make it seem like her nose was running, so she's sniffing because she hasn't used any tissues to wipe her nose. So, like, this is, I'm sorry, I'm just not buying it. Her emotions are very, very, it's like she's trying to put on the emotions that she thinks she needs to display as a human being, but doesn't really feel. And so it's just not connecting with us. There's a cognitive dissonance.
Was there anything about that firearm on that day that you noticed that was unusual?
first thing I noticed is when I saw it, there was a spent cartridge stuck between the slide and the entrance to the chamber.
A spent cartridge, meaning a fired cartridge?
I'm sorry, yes, it was empty.
Okay, and it was stuck where?
It was stuck between the slide, front end of the slide, and the back end of the chamber entrance.
The slide on the gun that
Right.
cocks it and loads another bullet into the chamber?
Correct.
So could we agree that the weapon was jammed?
The weapon had been misfired or mishandled. It
Okay.
wasn't held far, and it didn't eject it far
Yeah.
enough.
Now, what is that indicative of, that a cartridge would be stuck like that?
Ejection foundation.
I'm going to sustain.
Mr. Sant, do you have experience to the extent of being familiar with weapons and what would cause a cartridge to get stuck in the manner that it was on this gun on that day?
Yes.
May I, Your Honor?
Do you want to be heard?
No.
Go ahead.
Thank you. What is that indicative of, Mr. Sant?
In my experience, was the weapon wasn't held properly when that particular cartridge was fired.
And when you say by held properly, meaning held too loosely?
Yes.
No further questions.
Redirect.
No.
Can this witness be released?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Sant,
Yes.
you are released.
Not with this next witness. And the state would call it deputy Burrow.
All right.
I think I just came up with a brilliant idea. An honest to goodness, feel sorry for me contest, but just a contest where we know that people, we're here to judge how good we are at making you feel sorry for me. And sulking and crying. I'm just kidding.
Your last name for the record.
Deputy Thomas Burley, Baurle.
Burley, I said it wrong. I apologize.
That's okay.
And how are you employed?
Manatee County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been so employed?
Going on 23 years.
And what are your current duties with the sheriff's office?
Patrol.
And what are your daily duties as a patrol deputy?
Patrolling my zone, which is Lakewood Ranch currently, and taking calls for service.
And back in September of 2020, were you in the same position?
Yes, ma'am.
And would your duties have been the same?
Yes, ma'am.
And to become a law enforcement officer many moon ago, what kind of training or education did you obtain?
It'd be a law enforcement academy here in Manatee County.
And then since then, do you continue to have courses that are offered to the sheriff's office that you can take if you'd like?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I want to draw your attention to September 27th, 2020. Do you recall if you were working days or nights then?
I was working second shift, which would be 3 p.m. to 3 a.m.
And you said your zone now is in Lakewood Ranch.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Our counties, the sheriff divides the whole county up into zones.
Correct.
And what zone is that you're in now?
My zone is North 80, which is Lakewood Ranch, which covers from State Road 70 to University Parkway, from I-75 to Lorraine Road.
And so on September 27th of 2020, what zone were you in if it was something
North
else?
80.
North 80.
Yes, ma'am.
And during your shift that day, did you respond to 11327 White Rock Terrace?
Yes, ma'am.
And
911 call that a female had come to the neighbor's house and she had a gun with her.
And when you hear a call such as that, does it affect how you respond to the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
And how does it do that?
Depending on the situation, sometimes it's priority lights and sirens. Sometimes it's a normal response.
And how about once you arrive at the scene, does it affect how you would react when you got to the scene?
Yes, ma'am. Per protocol, we park a minimum a few houses away from the actual caller's address.
And is that based on the fact that there was a firearm?
Correct.
Thank you. And did you do that in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you know how long it took you to arrive since you were in your same zone? If you had to guess.
That's an adjacent. That's North 70. It's
Oh,
an
I'm
adjacent
sorry.
zone. I would guess probably 15 minutes.
And I think I didn't ask the right questions earlier. You were in zone North 80 then?
Correct.
Where was this call?
North 70.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I messed that up. And when you arrived, what did you do?
Again, per protocol, I parked a few houses away. I observed a vehicle parked on the opposite side of the street directly across from the 911 caller's residence. So I took up a position behind that vehicle because I was the only deputy on scene at the time. I was waiting there behind the vehicle for additional deputies to arrive on scene.
And did they arrive?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long were you there, you think, by yourself?
With a minute, maybe.
And once the additional deputies arrive, what happens?
The second deputy arrived was Deputy Vreeland, which that was his zone. Dispatch still had the 911 caller on the phone. So we had the Deputy Vreeland told dispatch to have the 911 caller tell the female to come out with her hands up.
And did she do that?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
And were you able to observe her at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you make any observations about her person?
Just she was visibly upset.
And did you see any injuries?
Not that I observed, no.
And did you notice anything about her clothes? Was it ripped or have
No,
any?
ma'am. She was wearing a sports bra, shorts, and sneakers.
And they seem to be intact.
Seemed to be intact, yes. Ma'am.
Thank you. Was she saying anything when she exited the home?
No, ma'am.
What happened to her once she exited?
Deputy Vreeland proceeded forward to the middle of the road and placed her into handcuffs. And being as my car was the closest, we brought her to my car, placed her in the back seat of my car.
And why would
Judge, can we approach for a moment?
Yes.
I really feel like this girl is a piece of work. I mean, she just has it written all over her. I don't know if she did full on murder or not.
And I think I was asking you why she was placed in cuffs and put in the police car.
Due to the circumstances and officer safety.
Thank you, sir. And at that time, actually, strike that. What was the next thing you did?
Other deputies were arriving on scene. So I yelled to any deputies that were there were multiple, to watch Miss Benefield in the back of my car, while myself, Deputy Vreeland, and I believe it was Detective Jones, proceeded to the house to clear the residence.
And would that have been that house next door to the 911 callers?
Correct. Directly next
And-
door.
Thank you. And did you enter that home?
Yes, ma'am.
And how did you enter the home?
Through the front door.
Did you notice anything outside the house?
Yes, ma'am. There's a large moving van, I believe it was a U-Haul in the driveway, and the garage door was open. Looked like they were moving stuff.
The big door
Yes,
was up. Okay. And when you went in through the front door, were you the first person or was Deputy Vreeland in front of you?
Deputy Vreeland was first, I was second, and Detective Jones was third.
And was the door locked, if you know?
No.
And what happened once you got inside?
As we entered the house, I observed the first bedroom to the left. I observed just a pair of legs, basically just above the knee down. Deputy Vreeland immediately took that room to check it. Myself and Detective Jones proceeded through the rest of the house to clear the rest of the house.
And what are you doing when you clear a house?
Making sure there's nobody else in there that could be hurt or injured or any threats.
And did you find anyone else in the home other than the set of legs you left with Deputy Vreeland?
No, ma'am.
And did you ever go back into that bedroom?
No, ma'am.
And did you remain in the residence?
No, ma'am.
Where did you go?
Myself and Detective Jones immediately left the residence, and I went straight to my patrol car and proceeded to get inside my patrol car to sit with Miss Benefield.
Your Honor, can I have just a second?
Yes.
Was EMS on scene when you were on scene?
There was so much going on. I don't know if they had arrived while we were in clearing the house or they arrived right after. I'm not sure exactly when they arrived.
Okay, but at some point they were there.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you ask them to check Miss Benefield to make sure
Yes,
she
ma'am.
was okay? And did she require any medical treatment?
No.
What was the next thing that you did?
Sat in my car with Miss Benefield and waited till I was directed what to do.
And were you eventually given some direction?
Yes, I was advised to transport her down to the main sheriff's office in Bradenton for interviews with
And that's the
detectives.
one by the mall?
Yes, ma'am.
And once you got there, how long is that ride?
20 to 30 minutes.
Once you got there, what did you do?
Once upon my arrival, escorted Miss Benefield up to the entrance where I believe was Detective Justin Warren was there, and I believe one of Miss Benefield's attorneys was there as well.
And did you conduct any further investigation in this case?
No, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. I don't have any questions for the defense. Any more questions?
Cross?
Yes, sir. Afternoon, Deputy.
Good afternoon, sir.
A few questions. If you don't understand any of my questions, please just ask me to repeat them.
Yes, sir.
I think you told us Miss Benefield's condition emotionally on that day when you saw her was she was hysterical.
Visibly upset.
In distinguishing between visibly upset and hysterical, can we agree that you felt she may have been in shock?
I honestly wouldn't know. I just observed her to be visibly upset and crying. I didn't see any hysteria or anything like that involved.
Okay, you're basically like any deputy trained in basic first aid, no?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so you would recognize shock if you saw it.
Possibly.
All right. Do you recall giving a deposition in this case, Deputy Brawl, on August 20th, 2021?
Yes, sir.
May I approach the witness?
Yes.
Hands to you and see
Sure. I have a copy as well.
if that refreshes your recollection at all.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even recall everything I said in the deposition due to the time frame.
And in seeing it now, does it help refresh your recollection?
Yeah.
Okay. So once again, on that particular day, did you think she may have been in shock?
According to my deposition, yes.
May I approach you on?
Yes.
Thank you. You told us that when she was initially placed in your squad car, she had on a sports bra.
That's what I would say it was, yes.
Yeah, no, that's fine. My question runs to whether or not at some point following that, a request was made and a deputy brought a coat for Miss Benefield to wear.
I don't recall a request being made. I just recall Deputy Reeling bringing out a shirt and pair of shoes. I don't know who made that request.
She put the shirt on.
I believe so, yes.
I want to ask you for a minute about
So when she shot her estranged husband, she was in a sports bra. And then rather than calling 911 herself, she goes to the neighbor's house and says, I was attacked by my husband and I shot him. Please call 911. And then is in her sports bra that entire time. Can't be bothered to put on. She can't be bothered to put on a shirt, but she can be bothered to go all the way next door. Oh my God.
report writing. Did you write a report that reflects your participation in this particular case?
I did a supplemental report, yes, sir.
Okay, that's pretty routine for deputies, is it not?
Yes, sir.
In fact, Deputy Burrell, would it be a fair statement to say that in Police Academy, they actually train you in report writing and how important it is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that would be because, can you even give us an estimation of how many calls you might respond to in a month?
It'd be very hard.
Okay. And by documenting significant things in your report, you don't have to rely on your memory 8 months, 2 years, 3 years down the road.
Most of the time, yeah. As with any call, sometimes you remember things after the fact.
Of course. So I want to ask you if you independently recall on May 7, 2018, responding to a call involving a suspicious person in the driveway of Miss Benefield's home. That would have been right next door to the home that she came walking out of.
I have no recollection of that, sir.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor? Let me pass this to you.
You know, what struck me about what she was doing in the 911 call is that, you know, usually during a 911 call, when someone has just, you know, either accidentally shot somebody or accidentally killed somebody or their loved one is dead or something, they're like, you know, they're more uncontrollably screaming, right? She seems like she always needs to be in control. And so even in the background in that 911 call, she was like, she was really in control. So she was really in control of her sounds but trying to convince us that she's not in control of her ability to put on a shirt before she goes next door in her sports bra, that she's so not in control that she can't pick up the phone and call 911. You see what I'm saying? Like, she has a lot of control over certain things that normally people wouldn't have control over. And Solo, to answer your question there, I get the impression that she definitely went to ballet school, and part of ballet school is acting, because ballet is acting a role. It is. That is ballet is acting, actually. So, more artfully, clearly, but you do have to you are acting out emotions in ballet, just like you are acting out emotions in, theater.
Deputy Doyle, see if it refreshes your recollection. Feel free to peruse it.
I don't recall this one, sir.
Is that your name?
It's got my name on it,
Okay.
but I don't recall it.
You don't doubt that it's
No, I don't doubt it's mine.
report that was authored by you?
Sometimes the system gets mixed up, our electronic report writing system.
Yeah.
Still happens today. Sometimes you'll go to write a report and somebody else's, another deputy's name inadvertently
Sure.
ends up as the primary on that. If you don't catch it, it stays that way.
Yeah. At least as we sit here now.
Well, that's troubling. That's kind of troubling to learn, how easy it is for people's names to get mixed up in reports. My goodness.
You don't have any reason to suspect that's the case, as opposed to it being an
It's
earlier.
Possible.
Let me finish.
Okay.
As opposed to it being an earlier report that you compiled that you just don't have any memory of this far forward.
It's possible.
Okay. So with the court's permission, if that memorializes your perception of that call on that day, I want to ask you a couple of questions, if I may.
Again, I don't recall this, so I think I can answer questions related.
I am zooming. A zoom, zoom, zoom. A zoom, zoom, zoom. A zoom, 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 zoom. A zoom, zoom, zoom. A zoom, zoom, zoom. A zoom, zoom. Oh, look at the look on that lawyer's face at that point. The one in the dark-haired lawyer, look at the look on her face when she looks over. Wait. Zoom, zoom. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Zoomy, zoomy, zoom, zoom, zoom. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Zoom, zoom, zoom.
Deputy, when you respond to a call and you fill out a incident or investigation report, among other information that you enter routinely into those reports is the identity of the reporting officer, no?
No. Again, as I previously stated, if you're one of the responding deputies, sometimes that was an old system. We're on a new system, still does the same thing. Sometimes it can inadvertently put one of the other deputies on there as the primary. So if you don't catch it, the report goes through with that other deputy's name on it. So it's all electronic.
Now, that's 2 times you've explained that.
Mhm.
So are you telling us that that is the standard practice, that dispatch makes a mistake?
It's
and
not dispatch,
deputies
sir.
Don't catch it?
It's not dispatch,
It
it's a
would be
mistake.
the exception. Could we agree?
It can happen, and it does
Okay.
happen,
So
yes.
now, let me ask my question to you again.
Okay.
Among the other information that goes into an incident report, does it identify the deputy who is making the report?
Usually, yes.
All right. Does this identify the deputy that was making the report?
It identifies me.
Now, what I would like to ask you, Deputy Burrow, is who the complainant was. That's another piece of information that's inserted in a report, is it not?
Correct.
Okay, and the nature of the complaint as well.
Correct.
Okay, so let me,
Sustained,
what was the objection, Your Honor? I'm sorry.
lack of foundation.
Does this report that you've seen include the information that we just discussed, the nature of the call and who the complainant was?
Yes.
All right. Now, without leaving it to your memory,
Okay, if you could approach, please.
in the usual course of events, Deputy Burrow, when you enter information into an incident report, is it fresh in your mind?
Say that again, sorry?
In the usual course of events, when you fill out an incident report, is the information fresh in your mind?
Usually, yes.
Okay. And while it's fresh in your mind, you place it into the report as to such things as the date and the time and the location, the name of the complainant and the nature of the call.
Correct.
All right. Now, I think you've told us that sometimes mistakes are made in these reports and they're attributed to different deputies.
Correct.
I think you also told us that that's the exception rather than the rule.
Correct.
Do you have any reason to believe that this particular report is that exception or not? Do you have any information that leads
Again,
you?
I don't recall that particular call you're speaking of with that paper, but it's most likely was me.
Okay. Now, may I proceed, Your Honor?
It's an objection.
Oh, this point.
Thank you. Would you tell us, Deputy Burrell, who the complainant was for that call?
Ashley Benefield.
Would you tell us what the date of the complaint was?
May 7th, 2018.
And will you tell us what the nature of the call was?
According to the narrative here,
Don't read the narrative. Just
Um,
tell us the nature of the
I
call.
have to read through the narrative to be able to tell you because I don't recall this.
You got to take that up with Judge White.
What's been allowed is not detailed, just a
Correct. Yeah.
general description.
Yes, sir. I understand. Yeah.
So clearly, this is a previous call to the house. They had a very volatile relationship, and there was a previous call to the house, and
Okay, and the nature of the
it
call?
was violent.
Person in their driveway suspected to be Douglas Benefield.
And that was at what address?
That would be 11331 White Rock Terrace.
And what was the time of the call?
2154 hours. So that would be 9:54 p.m.
Nighttime.
Yes, sir.
All right, Your Honor, I have another report, but we have an objection.
Okay, so on a previous night at 10 o'clock, and now his daughter's leaving the courtroom. I feel really bad for her. On a previous night at at almost 10 o'clock p.m., she reports that he was in her driveway. Whether that's true or not, we don't know.
Deputy Burrow, I have one other question for you about one of your calls. Apparently you cover a lot of ground.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you if you recall, and now this is going back to 2019, specifically December 8th, 2019, you obviously worked the night shift at 20:55. A suspicious person call in progress at (11332) White Rock Terrace in Bradenton. Do you recall that?
No, sir.
Thanks very much, Deputy.
My understanding is
Redirect.
that you did have a protective order against him.
I don't have anything about it. Thank you.
All right, can this witness be released?
Yes.
Defense?
Yes, he can be.
Keep him, sir, you're released here in the courtroom with anyone, including the attorneys or any other witness or anyone else. And you're not to view or watch or talk with any witnesses about their testimony.
Yes.
Thank you, Judge. Okay, State.
Thank you. The state was called John Jones. I think the deputy already has to get it.
Sure.
Hello, sir. How are you?
May I inquire?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long have you been, and how are you employed? Your full name and spell your last name for the record.
John Jones, Jones.
And how are you
John
employed?
Jones.
I'm a detective with Manatee County Sheriff's Office
And how long have you been so employed?
since September of 2014.
And what are your current duties at the Sheriff's Office?
I am a property detective currently.
And does that mean you investigate property crimes?
Yes,
Okay. And back in September of 2020, were you in that same unit or a different unit?
a different unit,
And what was that unit?
the Violent Crimes Task Force.
And what are your primary duties as a member of the Violent Crimes Task Force?
Investigate violent or aggravated circumstance, respond to same.
And when you, what kind of education did you obtain to become a law enforcement officer?
Went through the basic law enforcement academy in Valencia and Orlando.
And since then, have you continued to take classes through the sheriff's office?
Yes,
And do you take some on providing first responder aid as a first responder?
yes.
Thank you. I want to draw your attention to September 27th, 2020. As a member of VCTF at the time, did you work a specific shift?
I worked 3 p.m. to 3 a.m.
And was that the correct, or is that the shift you were working at that time?
Yes, it is.
Sorry, I got distracted. And did you does VCTF have a zone, or are they in the whole county?
They're a countywide task force.
And during your shift on the 27th of September 2020, did you respond to a call on White Rock Terrace?
Yes, I did.
And is that here in Manatee County?
It is.
And how did you find out about this call?
It was dispatched over the radio.
And what was the nature of the call?
Shooting with injuries, I do believe.
And does the nature of the call affect how you respond?
It does.
And how did you respond to this call?
Lights and sirens activated.
And is that because of the fact that there was a shooting?
Yes.
Do you remember how long it took you to get over to White Rock Terrace?
Not very long.
Where you were close in the area?
I was at State Road 64 and Lakewood Ranch Boulevard when it came out.
And what kind of area is this where this home is?
Residential
Like a subdivision?
subdivision, yes.
And when you arrived, were other law enforcement officers already on scene?
Yes,
Several or just a few?
a few.
And what did you do when you first arrived?
I was asked to ensure nobody come out of the back of the residence,
And,
and nobody came out of the back of the residence.
okay. And after that, what did you do?
I went to the front of the residence to clear the house to ensure there was no person inside the house.
And was that the same house or was the back of the residence the neighboring house?
Back of the residence was the neighboring house.
So you started at the back of the house next door to the one where you eventually entered?
Yes.
Okay. And you said you went over to the neighboring house. Did you notice anything about the outside?
Can't recall.
That's fine. And do you recall how you entered that house?
Yes, through the front door of
Thank
the
you.
residence.
And what was the purpose for going in there?
To ensure that there was no person inside that was armed and to render aid to anybody inside.
And did you find anyone inside the home?
I did.
And who was it? Or was it a man or a woman?
It was a man.
And where was he?
He was in a bedroom.
And was he standing up or?
No, he was lying down.
And can you kind of describe what you observed in that bedroom?
Yes, I observed the male laying down on the floor, sort of in the middle of the floor. He had a gunshot wound to his right about here, and then another one down by his leg. There was blood under his right leg.
And was this room set up with a bed and a dresser and all those things, or did it look different?
It looked like it was empty.
And based on that room and the other rooms, did it appear someone was either moving in or out of that home?
Yes, it did.
And what were you've told us you observed what you believe to be gunshot wounds. Did you make any other observations of him?
Yes, he was wearing gray shorts and a gray shirt or a dark colored shirt.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been pre-marked as states 2 and 3. You take a look and tell me if you recognize those items.
Yes.
I'm just going to 1 second. Other than, how do you recognize them?
This is the shirt that the defendant or a victim was wearing.
And that states 2, and as to states 3.
These are the shorts the victim was wearing.
And other than having been repackaged for trial, do they appear to be in the same or substantially the same condition when you saw them?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would ask to enter and publish states 2 and 3.
No objection.
Received?
And check out, I'm just going to hold this up. This is states 2. This is the shirt the victim you found was wearing.
Yes.
And it appears to have been cut. Do you know how that happened?
Yes, I cut it
And what was the purpose of cutting it?
to check for injuries.
And then this is states 3. These are the shorts that he was wearing?
Yes.
Okay. And they're also cut. Did you do that?
Did not.
Do you know how that would have occurred?
Likely by emergency medical services.
Is that normal for EMS to have to remove clothing like you did the shirt?
Yes.
As to these shorts in states 3, can you look at them and tell me what the size is?
Men's 30.
Thank you. And as to the shirt in states 2, can you look at that and tell me what the size is?
My glasses. Hold on a minute. Size small.
Thank you, sir. other than cutting his shirt, well, let me ask you this first. Did you touch him?
I did.
And how did he feel?
He was cool to the touch.
And did you attempt to provide medical aid?
I did.
And how so?
I began packing wounds to initiate CPR before EMS arrived on scene.
And what does that mean, packing wounds?
Putting gauze over wounds to keep whatever's inside when you're doing compressions.
And did you eventually start CPR?
No.
And why not?
EMS arrived on scene.
And were they very far behind you when you arrived?
Not very far, but I can't remember exactly how long.
And while you were attempting to provide medical aid, was somebody else taking some photos of the scene as you found it?
Yes.
And I'm going to show you states 18, 19, and 20. Will you take a look and tell me if you recognize those photos?
18 is me checking for the pulse on the victim.
Just take a look at them real quick and tell me if you recognize them first.
Yes.
Okay. And
Yes.
and are those photos that we just discussed that were taken while you attempted to do aid?
Yes.
And do they appear to fairly and accurately depict the scene as you recall it from September 27th, 2020?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state would ask to enter states 18, 19, and 20 and publish the same.
May I just see them, Your Honor?
Of course.
No objection.
States 18, 19, and 20 will be received.
Detective, I'm
So when
going
you
to.
say publish, you mean up here?
Yes, sir.
All right. Get the long screen.
Detective, I'm going to show you right. Let me give you this in case you need it. It's a pointer. That's like a red button in case you need it with a dot. I'm going to show you states 18 and ask you to describe what is depicted in 18.
That is me checking the victim for a pulse after the AED has been placed.
And that's you on the right. That's your head.
Yes, sir.
And on the left, is that another deputy?
Yes, it is.
And you said after placing the AED, what is that?
It's a defibrillator.
And is that the stickers we see on his body?
Yes, those pads.
Thank you. And I'm going to show you states 19.
States 19.
Yes. Is this the victim as you found him?
Yes, it is.
And those are the shorts we just saw.
Yes.
Thank you. And then states 20.
Yes.
Is this the position you found when you found him? Is this the same position he was in?
Yes.
Okay. And in the top right of this picture, there appears to be something tan. Do you know what that is?
It appears that it's a mattress stood up against the wall.
Thank you. Thank you, Detective. Did you make any other observations of evidence in that bedroom?
Yes.
And what was that?
There were 4 spent shell casings and 1 projectile in the room.
And a projectile, is that what I might call a bullet?
Yes.
Okay. And did you see anything, did you do anything else in the house after EMS took over aid?
No, we exited the residence and it was secured pending a search warrant.
And did you conduct any other investigation in this case?
No, I did not.
Judge, can I have just a moment?
Of course.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you, Detective.
Yes, ma'am.
Cross?
Couple couple brief questions. Deputy Jones, afternoon.
Afternoon, sir.
You were not, or you were the first deputy that made contact with Mr. Benefield.
I was one of the first. I couldn't tell you I was the first, but I was one of the first in the house, yes.
Were any other deputies in contact with Mr. Benefield prior to yourself?
Not to my knowledge, no.
All right. Had Mr. Benefield been moved at any time?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Did you ever witness anyone moving him?
Yes.
Other deputies
EMS.
and the EMS?
Just EMS.
Just EMS?
Yes, sir.
No other deputies?
Not to my knowledge, no.
And EMS, correct me if I'm wrong, did they drag him out of the room?
I believe so, yes.
That's all. Thank you.
Redirect.
I don't have anything, Judge.
Can this witness be released? State?
Yes.
Defense?
Yes.
Sir, you're released from your subpoena. You're free to go.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. All right, State.
I should have asked this already. Can we publish those? No, I don't need a witness, just publish them through the jury while we're calling the next witness.
What, 18, 19, and 20?
Sure, 2 and 3.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, I should have asked them.
As I said, members of the jury, just take each of these items, take a look at the first one, pass it on. These will go back with you in the jury room during your deliberations. You'll have as long as you want to analyze and look at them.
And we are caught up to real time. That's right, lost connection. That's right.
Announce your next witness, please.
The state would call Detective Tyler Ackerman.
Kids Smith. Man, they got that on that microphone so high. And right there on the judge's stand and picks it up. Even when he folds a paper. Oh, goodness.
Cool, sir. Sir. As the deputy said, just make yourself comfortable in that chair. Get about 12 to 15 inches from that microphone. It does adjust up, down, left, right as you need it. So just, yeah, there you go. And just talk in a loud, clear voice right into the microphone.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
Tyler James Ackerman, Ackerman.
And by whom are you employed?
I work for the Manatee County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you worked for the sheriff's office?
Just about 9.5 years.
And what are your current duties with the sheriff's office?
Currently, I'm a violent crimes task force detective.
And were those the same duties you had in September of 2020?
Yes, ma'am.
And what are your daily activities as a violent crimes task force detective?
What area?
What do you do?
Oh, okay. So we'll go out to assist patrol with calls for service pertaining to shootings, stabbings, robberies, stuff of that nature. And then we'll also assist other detectives with investigations.
Thank you. And what kind of training did you obtain to become a law enforcement officer?
Prior to becoming a law enforcement officer, I went to police academy, which is a full term for 6 months. And then after that, there's additional training that we receive at the agency to include in-service training, about a 3-month program that'll get us ready for the road, and then a 3.5-month program on the road to be able to pass to become a solo deputy.
And does that training in the academy and going forward involve firearms?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you do before you were a law enforcement officer?
Prior to law enforcement, before I went back to school to become a police officer, I was in the United States Army.
And when you were in the
Sorry, I didn't hear.
I was in the United States Army, sir.
Thank you.
And when you were in the Army, did you also receive firearms training?
Yes.
And when you were in the Army, were you in a position where you carried a gun regularly?
Yes, I was an infantryman. It was my job.
And as a law enforcement officer, do you, and a member of VCTF, do you carry a gun every day?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you, are you required to go out to the range and make sure you know how guns operate?
Correct. We're required annually to pass a test, but then we're also given the opportunity to go out to the range to practice and do more because it takes more than shooting once a year to be proficient.
And do you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
And I want to ask you a little bit about September 27th, 2020. As a member of VCTF, were you working a specific shift?
Yes, ma'am. We work 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. That's our standard shift, unless something else that's happening in the county dictates that we change it.
And do you work in a specific area?
We have the entire county as our jurisdiction.
And during your shift that night, did you respond to a White Rock Terrace?
Yes, ma'am.
And how were you informed of this call?
I believe it was through the radio. There was a shooting that was dispatched. And I couldn't tell you exactly how many of the members of my team, but we were together on a meal break.
And how long did it take you to get over there, if you recall?
I couldn't give an exact time frame, but maybe about 10, 15 minutes. I'm not 100% sure.
When you arrived, what did you observe going on?
When I first got to the scene, there was an ambulance that was parked in front of, I believe, the incident location. And there was a stretcher that was being loaded into the back of the ambulance where there was a male that I visually observed on the stretcher.
And did you see a female?
Yes, there was a female that was being placed in the back of a marked patrol car, I believe. But I saw her for seconds, and then she was placed inside the vehicle.
And were there a lot of law enforcement on scene?
Yes.
And what, if anything, were you tasked with doing?
Initially, when we get to a scene, we wait to see what needs to continue to be investigated or what people need help with. And there was information that said that the defendant went to the neighbor's house after the incident that took place. So myself, Detective Din, and I believe somebody from patrol went to that residence to make contact with the neighbor.
And what was your purpose of making contact?
To come have an interview completed with the neighbor to see what he knew happened.
And that home, and I apologize if you just said it, is directly next door.
Correct. If you're looking at the front of the incident location, it's the first house immediately to the left.
And what happened when you got over there?
When we went over there, Detective Din completed the interview with the neighbor. And then after the interview, we collected a multi-waiver for the house.
And what is that?
Multi-waiver is a form that's two-sided, and it has multiple different agreements that we can have. So if we go to a scene for this particular case, the multi-waiver is something that we collect from the person to get consent to enter and search their house with their permission in lieu of having a search warrant written sent to a judge.
And was Mr. Sant okay with you entering his house?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes, I believe he signed it, but I have not seen the multi-waiver in 4 years. So.
Okay. And were you listening in on the interview? And I don't want you to tell me what was said between Detective Din and Mr. Sant.
I was there for a portion of the interview, but not the entire thing.
Was something that you heard in the interview, did it cause you to go do something else?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what was that?
To collect a firearm that was inside the residence.
Okay. And did you enter Mr. Sant's home?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you locate the firearm?
Yes.
And where was it?
If you were looking at the front door, as soon as the front door opens, immediately to your left on the ground was the firearm, and it was just below a window that was next to the door.
And what, if any, observations did you make about the firearm?
Initially, the first observation was that there was a magazine inside the firearm, appeared to be a semi-automatic black pistol, and the slide, which is the portion of the top of the pistol that retracts to unload a round after it's fired and then load a new round, was partially it wasn't completely seated in the forward position. There's a very small amount of it that was to the back.
And did you examine the gun on scene to determine why it was like that?
Yes.
And what did you see?
When I saw that, the firearm, you could see a little bit of ammunition or a round of ammunition inside the chamber. But then after that, that was the only observation I could see with it on the ground.
And did it appear, and was that a live round?
When I cleared the ammunition that was inside the chamber was an unfired live round that was still able to be fired or appeared to be able to be fired.
And I guess I should ask you, once you find a firearm, what do you do with it?
Generally, the first task is to make it safe. clear the firearm.
And so what does that mean?
So it would be pointed in a safe direction. The magazine is always the first thing to be removed from the firearm. So if you pull the slide to the rear and the magazine is still inside the firearm, one round will eject, but it will subsequently load another round into the chamber, which would make it still a live weapon.
And so did you remove the magazine?
Yeah, the magazine was removed first, and then after that, the slide was locked to the rear to prevent the slide from going forward. And when the slide was pulled to the rear, that's when the live round of ammunition was ejected out of the chamber.
Thank you. And at some point, did you take a photograph of the firearm?
Yes.
I'd like to show you what's been pre-marked as state 17. Will you take a look and tell me if you recognize that photo?
Yes.
How do you recognize it?
That's the firearm that I photographed and collected.
And does that photograph appear to accurately depict the firearm
Yes.
on that day? Your Honor, the state would ask to enter and publish state 17.
Mr. Taylor, is there any objection to the admission of state 17?
No, sir.
Received.
And Your Honor, once I'm done, can I just have it passed?
Okay.
Thank you. Once you made the firearm safe, what'd you do with it?
After that was placed in a new property bag.
And then did you take it to property and evidence yourself?
No, ma'am.
And what'd you do with it?
I waited with the firearm until CST, I believe it was CST Conlon, arrived to the neighbor's house and took custody of the firearm.
And a CST, what is that?
Crime scene technician, ma'am.
And were you asked to conduct any further investigation in this case?
No.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you, Detective.
Thank you.
All right, if we could go ahead and publish state 17. Mr. Taylor, hold on 1 second. They're publishing state 17.
Thank you.
May I see a copy of the front?
Of course. You can see the actual exhibit. All right, cross-exam.
Looking at her makes me feel nervous. Like, I feel like she's on something. You know,
Afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon, sir.
so tricky and so.
I think we can agree that your testimony pretty much revolved around the firearm.
Yes, sir.
You have experience with firearms.
Yes, sir.
There's various reasons why a handgun such as this might jam, correct?
Might jam, but what was with the firearm was not consistent with a jam, sir. The firearm was just slightly out of battery, which means that the slide was not locked to the rear.
And that's the exclusive reason for it to have been in the condition that it was, you think?
There's multiple reasons why the slide wouldn't go to the complete forward position,
That's what I
but
want.
what was with the firearm would be consistent with the jam. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so let's concentrate on the slide.
Yes, sir.
Are there various reasons why the slide would have been in that position?
Yes.
Is one of those reasons, Detective, someone who is not holding the gun firmly enough?
One of them can be if the way that the firearm reacts with recoil, especially with a pistol, is when the firearm is shot, it has to be firmly held in place for the slide to actually be able to use its own force to push back, eject around, and load a new one, sir.
Okay, and as a relative expert with firearms, you go to the range regularly, I would assume?
Pretty decently, sir.
All right, and you make certain when you fire a pistol that you are holding it firmly enough so that that doesn't happen?
I do, yes.
Okay. That comes with practice
Yes,
and that comes with knowledge of the firearms.
I would say so.
So if somebody were a neophyte in the actual firing of the firearm and was scared and petrified, if they weren't holding it tightly enough, that slide could end up in the position that you found it in.
It could, but I think the thing that normally happens more commonly when it comes to a pistol and a grip being weak is that the round is still going to fire, but what happens is that the slide goes backwards, but it doesn't fully eject the round, which causes something that's called a stovepipe. So the best way that I can explain that is that the firearm wants to load a new round of ammunition into the chamber, but the old round has to come out first. So what happens as the chamber is coming back, it actually goes forward, and then the shell casing that it wanted to eject gets stuck in that slide, so it can't go forward anymore.
Okay. And one of the other ways would be, as we discussed,
It could be, yes, sir.
Yeah.
It could be ammunition, a spring, various things.
failure to hold it tightly.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. No further questions.
Redirect,
No, Judge, thank you.
can this witness be released?
Yes, Judge.
Sir? Mr. Taylor? Can the witness be
Yes.
released from his subpoena?
Yes.
All right, sir, you're released from your subpoena. You're free to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then you, oh, no, maybe I don't need to, go ahead.
All right.
Yes, you're fine. No, it has nothing to do with you. All right, members of the jury, it's about 3:00, so I think it's a good time to take about 10 or 15 minutes, let you stretch your legs. I'm going to let you go back to the jury room. Please remember, just leave your notes here. Please remember, don't begin discussing the case or anything about it amongst yourselves. You are free to use your phones if you need to send and receive text messages or calls or email. That's just fine. But don't communicate with anyone outside the jury about the case. And please don't do any research on the people, places, things, or legal topics we've heard anything about. And we'll call you back out in just a few minutes after we get a break. All right, the jury is out. You all can have a seat. Thank you. Also, the transcripts that were used, I'm going to take one as an exemplar and just note that this is what was handed out to the jury. All right. 10 minutes, 15 at the latest.
Yes,
All right, stretch, move around. All right, we'll be off the record till then.
All right. So let me just say this right up front, okay? For me, the jury is still completely out about whether she did this in cold blood, okay? I don't like her. I feel the same about this as I felt through most of the Karen Reed trial. I have never liked Karen Reed, and I don't like this young lady either. I don't like her at all. And so far, what I'm hearing in the trial, things are iffy for her. But I really feel like we need to get to the meat of what actually happened, when the incident took place, to understand how honestly, I feel like if she really needs to testify to explain this incident. This incident needs to be explained. And for that incident, because the only two people that were there are her and him, and it's her word against his, and he's dead, she needs to testify, because, and that's how we're going to that's how we're going to be able to gauge her credibility and be able to vet this story, because we haven't been able to get really a sense of this story. We know what the defense's narrative is. We know what the prosecution's narrative is, but we haven't seen it play out in the evidence yet. So, I just need to see a lot more. Yeah, I need to see a lot more before I know that she just pulled out the gun in cold blood. What it feels like to me is that they really did have a horribly toxic relationship. They were both bad for each other. I'm not saying, we have to recognize as a people that in these relationships, it's not the angel versus the devil, right? In these relationships, a lot of times it's not one person is just an amazing person, and a lot of times what happens is when you get into an abusive relationship like this, the empath becomes almost like an abuser because they get caught up in this cycle. So it's really hard to figure out who really is the aggressor and who really is the abuser. And they both do terrible things to each other. So we're not going to be able to really figure that out about their relationship. What we have to understand is what happened that night. And was it really self-defense? And you cannot just put on a defense of he was mean, so he shot her. That's not a good defense. He has to have been like coming at her with something, right? Like literally coming at her. So, and that's all, that's the other thing. Like what you're saying, Teacup, is the Karen Reed trial and other trials that have been, that have happened, that are happening as well at this time, are really shining a light on how dirty the judicial system is, and how, it's not dirty and corrupt through and through, but you can't know from time to time, from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, from person to person, who's going to be corrupt and who isn't, right? But when you go behind the scenes and you see the evidence play out, and you see cops talking to each other in the way that they did about Karen Reed, you're like, oh my God, no, this cannot be. Hey, Shift, this cannot be. That it is. I agree. I totally agree. I called that the Karen Reed trial was going to be a mistrial. I completely called that, because it was just too messy, and it was not well prosecuted. And I still don't know for sure at this point. I still don't know whether Karen Reed is I think she's guilty of involuntary manslaughter. And I think the prosecution just completely flubbed it and made and the way and the investigation screwed up, and the way it was handled made a mockery out of that entire town. So with this case that we're looking at today, I definitely don't like this young lady, the way she's coming across at all. She stinks. I smell poop. I smell poop from a mile away here. Okay. But that doesn't mean she's guilty. It just doesn't mean she's guilty. And I can recognize that. So what I'm also recognizing is that you start to see that when a big case like with Alec Baldwin, that one gets dismissed with prejudice because of prosecutorial misconduct. Holy shit. That leaves that's going to open up the door for so many other for the lid to be opened up on so many other prosecutions that they could be corrupt as well. The judge has been thrown off of the Young Thug case. The judge has been thrown off of the Young Thug case. Okay, that's another one. That case, that trial has been going on for like literally a year when you include jury selection. And now that judge has been thrown out and replaced. Okay. There's some like the things that are going on in the courts. So all of this gives people ideas about how they can defend themselves and start pointing the fingers. You're going to start seeing a lot more, I believe, defenses of, conspiracy defenses and more people coming to court looking like this. And this is the picture, Patricia. So this is a picture of Ashley's daughter in front of the court yesterday. There was a hearing yesterday, a pretrial hearing, like there is in many cases, right? And it was, and just like in many cases, this pretrial hearing was, had some fireworks, not quite as bad as with the Alec Baldwin stuff. Yes, right, Sparkles? So this girl is 8 years old. This is the daughter, this is the girl she actually, now that we've seen her sister testify, she looks a lot like her sister. That is the half sister of the girl that testified. This is so wrong. And this is one, this just adds to my reasoning for not liking this defendant. Again, does that make her guilty? No. All of the shit that Karen Reed's supporters did, all of that heckling and the, standing in front of the court with signs and doing, and all the Turtle Boy shit. I hated that stuff. Hated it. Does that mean Karen Reed is guilty? No, it does not. And all this boils down to, and where is this going, you guys? Where am I going with this? Where am I going? Where am I going? Where am I going? Social media. Half of this shit I just talked about wouldn't be happening if social media wasn't designed the way it is. And you know it. And you know it. All of that. All those people are doing that shit to get attention, to keep attention, to make money. It is so disgusting. It is so absolutely disgusting. And it looked like they were coming back, but they're not. So I also wanted to show you, I think a lot of you have seen this by now, but this is the ad that Sarah Boone. So I think most of you know who Sarah Boone is. Sarah Boone is the woman who is accused of intentionally killing her boyfriend in a suitcase. They were drunk one night. I think they were in a fight. She put him in a suitcase. He was in there struggling. She didn't get him out. She filmed him in the suitcase struggling. She didn't get him out. He died. And this is a colorful person. This is a very colorful person. So now she has been ordered by the judge to represent herself because she has gone through 8 court-appointed attorneys, and you just can't work. You can't work with her. I haven't even read through this. I mean, I think I'm in all honesty, at first glance, I'm rather impressed with the design, right? Inmate seeks attorney looking for a prosperous challenge, ready for your close up on national television. So she knows exactly what her value is. She knows that her case is going to be is going to be very widely streamed. She knows that her case is getting attention. She knows it. Would that be happening as much as it is now without social media? Okay, let's keep going. Are you zealous with the side of keen? Show the world who you are with your original creativity, extraordinary expertise, confident ingenuity. I have to. Okay. Qualifications must include being trustworthy, honest, passion-driven, open-minded, exceptional problem-solving skills. Let's see. They're coming back into court. I have the sound is on, so we'll hear them when they come back. Client inclusion at all times. Client inclusion at all times. Sorry. I'm sorry. Team orientation, collaboration, extreme efficiency, and listening. We're finding out what her other lawyers didn't do. Okay, this is what her other lawyers didn't do. And this is, you guys, this is ultimate control. Okay, this is somebody who must be in control of everything. All right, team orientation, collaboration, extreme efficiency in listening, communicating, understanding, dedication to success, possessing a winning mindset, capability of excellence in representation, committed, maintaining faith. Committed. Okay, sorry. Maintaining faith in the client and care with the ability to think differently, overcome all circumstances. Epic opportunity awaits. Invest in the oppressed. There's a tag hole. There's a tagline, y'all. There's a tagline. Invest. Oh my gosh. Well, that I did. I also accessed the letter she did to read at a later date. Um, they keep coming into the courtroom and then not coming into the courtroom. I don't know what the heck is going on, but oh my gosh. Johnny, I think she thinks that invest in the oppressed is a call to action, but it needs to be more specific. Definitely be more specific call to action.
All right, so
To be fair,
3:15, we're back on the record. State versus Ashley Benefield. State, I don't know, what you planned on. I think you said you had 7 witnesses ready for today. Do you think we're going to get that far?
Hi, we have 2 crime scene techs in the hall. Mr. Dvorak, who is gonna be relatively brief, I think, and then Ms. Conlon, who will not be relatively brief. And then I think we have 2 more on standby that are here.
Right, I have Ashley Byers out in the hall and, I'm sorry, Alicia Byers and Dr. Barbara Russell. I don't anticipate their testimony is going to be very long at all from the state side. So I was hoping to get them done today if possible, so they don't have to come back tomorrow.
We'll see how far we get.
And just, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we have some issues with Byers and with Russell.
Okay, but they're going to be later.
After the
Yeah,
2 crime scene techs.
Well,
Sorry.
let's get through the 2 crime scene techs to guarantee we get through those, and then we'll see where we're at with time, and maybe we get to them today, maybe we don't. We'll do our best, obviously, because I'm with you. I've said before, I prefer to get, if you've got witness here, let's get through them. But maybe if we don't get there, that'll give you time to put whatever arguments you want on the record. Sure.
Just what we're talking about today, we have 8 witnesses scheduled for tomorrow. Depending on what happens today, it could be more. But the last witness is our firearms person, and they're not available until Thursday morning. He's coming from Jacksonville. So I just wanted the court to know, because I know you were, like, if we got done a little bit early, I don't think will happen. We're not gonna have him until Thursday morning, but then that would be our last witness if we're on schedule.
All right.
Just so that everybody's aware. I don't wanna have them try to.
So that's a good update for you, though, because you were saying, hey, because you had somebody that's getting a surgery next week, and
We had somebody getting surgery on the 1st, and we have
people coming in from out of town.
4 out-of-state people. Yeah.
So there you go. The state
Yeah.
is just thinking they're going to finish Thursday morning.
If we're on schedule at the end of the day tomorrow, then we'll have 1 witness left.
So just FYI.
Yep.
All right. Are you ready to get the jury back in?
Yes.
so that's
Mr. Taylor,
for us
are you ready to
know.
bring the jury in?
State
All right.
says that they'll be resting. They'll be resting Thursday.
All right, welcome back. Y'all can have a seat. So I had gone up to my office, and when I came back down on this floor, I realized, well, it's cold today. So again, I apologize. It's set somewhere else. So just keep in mind I see some of you shivering throughout the rest of the trial. Please dress in layers so you're ready for kind of like going on that trip up north sometimes in the spring. You're never quite sure what to take, so be prepared. While you were outside, did anybody discuss amongst yourselves anything about this case or begin your deliberations? Did anybody discuss anything about the case with anybody outside of this group? Did anybody do any research on people, places, things, or legal topics you've heard anything about? All right, everybody says no. When we took that break, the state was in the midst of presenting its case, so they're going to resume from there and call their next witness.
The state would call Megan Dvorak. And Judge, I will need the screen for both of these witnesses, please.
Ma'am.
Oh my God, that noise.
Hello, ma'am.
Good morning.
Oh,
Oh, good afternoon, Judge.
Welcome. My name is Judge White. I'll be presiding over the case. Make yourself comfortable in that chair. Get about 12 to 15 inches from the microphone. There you go. And adjust however you need to. Speak in a nice, clear voice right into that microphone. We'll hear everything.
Thanks, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
Megan Dvorak, last name spelled D as in David, V as in Victor, Orack.
And by whom are you employed?
Manatee County Sheriff's Office,
And how long have you been so employed?
12 years.
And what are your current duties with the sheriff's office?
I am a crime scene tech,
How long have you been a crime scene technician?
6 years.
And what did you do prior to becoming a crime scene technician?
I was a 911 dispatcher.
And as a crime scene tech, when you changed over from dispatch to crime scene, did you have to go through some training?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell the jury about that?
We do an in-house training. It's usually 3 to 6 months. We have certain criteria that we need to get checked off on by our own training officers as well as the unit manager. And he deems it appropriate when we're able to respond to calls and process evidence on our own.
And were you working as a crime scene tech in September of 2020?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you asked, I'm going to draw your attention specifically to September 27th, 2020. Were you asked to assist in a homicide call that day?
Yes, ma'am.
And what time were you called?
About 20 minutes to 9.
And what were you asked to do?
I was asked to respond to our CID interview area, which is at our main operations center, to meet with detectives and obtain photographs.
And what is CID?
Criminal Investigative Division.
And do you know what time did you do that?
Yes, I did.
And do you know what time you arrived?
I arrived at approximately 9:21 that evening.
And were you already said, I think you were asked to take photographs.
Yes, ma'am.
And who was that of?
Ashley Benefield.
And did you do that?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And what's the process for taking pictures of someone?
In this circumstance, we take overall photographs of the person as they are when we first see them, taking identification photos from the front of their face, the sides, and then we take photographs in various forms of them being stood fast in front of us. So we just go in clips from the top all the way down. So we do a face shot to her chest, middle area, and then legs, and then down to the feet. And so that's what we did first.
And then once you do that, what's the next thing you do?
The next thing we do, because I was also requested to, collect her clothing as items of evidence. And so we will start by removing an item of clothing. We're also checking for further injuries at that time or any might.
May I approach her?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show you states 21 through 30. Will you take a look at them and tell me if you recognize them?
Yes, I do.
And how do you recognize them?
These are the photographs I obtained that evening.
And do they fairly accurately depict Miss Benefield as you photographed her on September 27th, 2020?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would ask to enter and publish states 21 through 30.
Any objection?
None.
They'll be received.
Thank you. And Mr. Worth, you have a laser pointer there. You may have to check if it's on.
It's on.
Okay. I'm going to start with states 21. And so if you'll just kind of, for the record, let me tell us what we're seeing in this picture.
Sure. This is a front identification picture, as we call them, of the subject that we're photographing, just like an ID photo that you would take on your driver's license.
And did you, when you were taking these photos, is that the time in which you're looking for any injuries?
Yes.
And did you observe any injuries on Miss Benefield's face?
No.
And I'll show you states 22. This is her right side?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And states 23 would be the opposite side, left.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you observe any injuries on either of those sides of her face?
No, ma'am.
And so then you said you kind of just go down the body front and back.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show you states 24. Will you tell me what we're seeing here?
This is a mid torso from her breast line down to her pelvic hip area, with obviously her arms crossed in front of her person.
And states 25.
It's her shin, just above her shins and down to her ankles that are covered by shoes.
Thank you. And states 26.
And this is a rear view of that same photograph.
And did you, when you were taking these photos, did you observe any injuries on her arms or legs?
I believe that I observed some redness on her right forearm and some slight discoloration on the back of her left leg and upper right side of her right area, right thigh.
And so I'm showing you now states 27. Is that what are you documenting the red mark you saw on her wrist in this photo?
Yes.
And you said at some point, or you did not observe any injuries to her face or head.
Objection leading.
I'll overrule.
Thank you. I believe you just testified that you didn't observe any injuries on her face or head. Is that correct?
I did not see any.
But did you document her left ear?
I did.
And I'm going to show you states 28. Is this her left ear?
Yes, ma'am.
And why did you document her left ear?
Her attorney that was present at that evening with her in the room advised me that she had.
Hearsay.
I think it's
Is it
effect
offer
on
for the truth?
No, it's effect on the listener.
All right, overruled.
Go ahead.
Her attorney that was in the room advised me that she had seen some redness on the defendant's ear. And so I did take it for posterity reasons, photographs of that ear.
Thank you. And then once you took these overall photos that we just saw and documented those, the scratch on her wrist, did you have her remove her t-shirt?
I did.
And did you observe any injuries once she removed her t-shirt?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was that?
I noticed a scratch, a little vertical scratch under her right breast area, and then more scratches above her right hip.
I'm going to show you states 29. It's been cropped just for modesty purposes, but can you kind of orient us to where this is on Miss Benefield's body?
Looking straightforward at Miss Benefield, this would be just under the right breast area, just under the bra line. And
go ahead. And
right
then,
here is the scratch I was referring to.
thank you. And states 30, are these the scratches you mentioned on her hip?
Yes. So this would be the side of her right hip.
And I'm going to show you the picture. Up there, they kind of look brown, but were they in fact brown?
No, ma'am, they were red.
Thank you. And you said that's her right hip?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Did you observe any other injuries once Miss Benefield removed her clothing?
No, ma'am.
And did you collect her clothing?
I did.
Did you conduct any further investigation after you documented Miss Benefield?
No.
Do you have anything else for her? I don't have any further questions, Mr. Warwick. Defense may.
Thank you.
Cross?
Yes, sir. Your Honor, I think that the monitor
did not accurately portray two of the photographs. I wonder if the court had any objection before I begin my cross-publishing these two.
Absolutely not. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Just hand them to the deputy.
Yes.
Can you state for the record which numbers they were?
It would have been 29, 30, Judge.
29 and 30. Thank you. All right, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. Is it deputy or Ms.?
Crime scene, Dvorak or Mrs.?
Okay. Are you a licensed deputy or
No, I'm not a certified. I'm classified as civilian.
civilian? Okay, that works for the sheriff's department
Yes, sir.
as a crime scene technician.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you, of course, filled out a report of the things that you did on that particular day, did you not?
Yes.
And among other things, as you've explained to us here this afternoon, Ms. Dorvick, you also collected, did you not, DNA swabs?
I did.
Okay, will you tell us what DNA swabs are?
DNA swabs, dependent upon what I'm being requested to swab, are utilized when I'm trying to get a possible DNA sample from an area. In this circumstance, I believe I took, if I can just refer to my report,
Please,
Judge?
absolutely. Take your time. You can refer to your
Thank you.
notes. I don't need to speak for the court, but I'm pretty confident on that one.
I did take a buccal swab. We call it a buccal swab standard from the defendant. And then for this particular case, I took touch DNA swabs, which meaning I was swabbing specific areas that the defendant's counsel had advised me that I needed to swab in accordance to find maybe possibly some of Mr. Benefield's DNA. I believe I swabbed several areas in reference to that.
Okay, and would those areas that you swabbed include Ms. Benefield's hands?
Let's see. I did swab her forearm and wrist areas, both from the left and the right.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think you referred to that as touch DNA.
Yes.
In other words, trying to break this down in its simplest terms, it would indicate when the results came back whether or not a particular individual may have touched Ashley Benefield in those areas that you swabbed.
Objection.
If she can answer, overruled.
You may answer.
It is possible, yes.
Okay. And in this instance, by what you just expressed to us, you were taking those touch DNA samples off Miss Benefield's wrists and forearms to check to see if Douglas Benefield had touched her on that particular day.
I believe it was just to see if any touch DNA profile came back.
Okay, would Douglas Benefield be included in that?
I don't know for certain. I did not send off the swab, so I'm not sure who they were actually putting a profile against or running it against you.
Okay, so you swab it, it's sent off to the lab?
The detective is the one who determines what swabs get sent off and who the DNA comparison is related to.
Okay, and the lab analyzes it and sends it back?
Yes.
And when they send it back, they distinguish what individuals may or may not have left their DNA in the areas that you swabbed?
I can't answer that. I don't know what their results look like or what their job entails.
Well, do you know what the end result of your swabbing is for?
I do not.
Okay, you don't know whether it's to establish if somebody touched them in those areas.
I do swab to see if there is multiple or just one DNA profile in that area. But like I said, I don't know who, if they were sending him off
Okay.
to compare with Mr. Benefield's DNA
Okay,
or not.
I understand. So you don't know who, but when you swab, you're swabbing to see whether or not scientifically there's going to be evidence that someone may have touched Miss Benefield in those areas.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Redirect?
Oh, 1 second, Ron. Storbeck, you have your report with you?
I do.
Would you look at the first page where you begin listing the areas that you swabbed?
Yes.
Does it not at the bottom also say that you swabbed the suspect's right hand and left hand?
Yes, it does. I
Not the
apologize. I missed that.
Miss
Yes.
Benefield's right hand and left hand.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so you did the right hand, the left hand, the right wrist, the left wrist, the right forearm, and the left forearm.
Yes, the forearms and wrists were one swab individually on both arms. And then, yes, I did swab both her right hand and her left hand individually.
And what do you do with the swabs after you've completed your task?
They are sealed with evidence tape and they are signed on the seal to ensure that the seal is not broken. And then I place them into our property and evidence division, to which the detective deems that they need to be sent off or not.
Who's the lead detective on this case?
Detective Justin Warren.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Still no.
All right, would this be released state?
Yes.
We have her under subpoena, Your Honor. I'm going to have to ask that you remain under.
All right, ma'am. You're not released from your trial subpoena. The rule of sequestration has been invoked. So you're not to discuss your testimony or the questions asked of you with the attorneys or anyone else, any other witnesses. You're not to talk with any witnesses about their testimony or other evidence. You're not to watch or hear anything about the proceedings until you're released from your subpoena or the jury has been discharged.
Yes, sir.
All right, you can go. All right, State, call your next witness.
State would call Amanda Conlon.
Oh, ma'am. As the deputy said, just make yourself comfortable in that chair. Get about to 12 to 15 inches from that microphone. It adjusts up, down, left, right, however you need. Speak in a loud, clear voice right into it. And you should be able to hear everything. We hear you breathing, you know you're too close.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Friel.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
It's Amanda Conlon, Conlon.
And by whom are you employed?
I'm Manatee County Sheriff's Office,
And how long have you been so employed?
20 years.
And have you been, what is your current duties? What are your current duties?
A crime scene technician.
And have you been a crime scene technician that Total,
which is part of dispatch.
and what kind of training do you get to become a crime scene technician?
I went to St. Pete College and for crime scene specifically.
And then once you join the unit, do you have any on-the-job training?
Yes.
And do you continue to receive trainings if methods change or new science evolves?
Yes.
Thank you. I want to draw your attention to September 27th, 2020. Were you working that day?
Yes.
And in the same capacity?
Yes.
Okay. And were you called out to a scene at 11331 White Rock Terrace?
Yes.
And what time did you arrive there?
Approximately, I got called at 1937 hours. I think I arrived about 28 hours approximately.
Okay, so just because I don't math. 7:37 p.m.?
Yes.
And then you got there at 8:28?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And was law enforcement already on scene?
Yes.
And how do you get called out to a scene?
It was a Sunday night and I was on call. So since I was the on-call person, Sergeant Moss was the one who actually called me out that night.
And when you arrived there, without telling what they say, did you speak to law enforcement to get an idea of what had happened?
Yes.
And what is your task there on scene at White Rock Terrace?
Once I arrive and wait for the search warrant to arrive, I can only take photographs of the outside of the residence on the street of where the crime scene tape was. And when the search warrant arrived, then I was able to enter the residence.
And prior to entering the residence at 11331, did you go next door to the neighbor's house?
Yes.
And why'd you go over there?
There was a firearm that I needed to collect.
And tell me about that. Where was the firearm?
When I arrived, Detective Ackerman was outside the residence with the firearm, which was in a paper bag.
And was it secured, I guess?
He secured it, yes.
And what type of firearm was it?
It was a Springfield .45 caliber.
And when you got there, had it already been unloaded or was it still?
It was still, the magazine was still loaded.
And it did in fact have bullets in it?
It had 1 in the chamber and 3 in the magazine.
And what type of ammo was in the firearm, if you recall?
.45 caliber and Hornady, I believe.
And once you collect the gun, what do you do with it?
On scene that night, I secured it in my van, locked my van.
Colonel, may I approach?
Yes.
Ms. Conlon, I'm first going to show you states 31, 32, and 33. Will you take a look at those and tell me if you recognize them?
Yes, I recognize them.
And how you recognize them?
Those are my photographs that I took of the gun that was next door.
And do they appear to fairly and accurately depict it as you found it on September 27th, 2020?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would ask to enter 31, 32, and 33.
Any objection?
No.
Received?
Thank you. And may I publish them?
Yes.
Ms. Conlon, there's a pointer there. I don't think you'll need it at this point, but if you do, I'm going to show you first states 31. What's the purpose of this picture?
That is the next door neighbor's house. So I'm showing the address.
And I'll show you states 32. Is that how you found the firearm that day or that evening?
Yes.
And are those potentially Detective Ackerman's feet there?
Yes.
Okay. And is this the front porch of that same address?
Yes.
And then states 33.
That's the firearm.
And the slide is back in this firearm, in this picture. Was that done by the detective prior to you getting it from him?
Yes.
Thank you. I can't get it to close. And Ms. Conlon, I left an item there with you. It is states 13. Would you take a look at this item and tell me if you recognize it.
Yes, I do.
And how do you recognize it?
It's the box that I packaged the gun in, and it's got the information on this side of it.
And your information from when you packaged it?
Yes.
And did you look inside? It's open, yep.
Yes.
Does it appear to be in the same or substantially same condition as when you packed it back in September of 2020?
Yes.
Your Honor, this time the state would ask to enter and publish states 13.
Received?
Thank you. Would it be okay if the deputy just walked in front of
I
the?
think, yes, I would prefer that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy. After you collected the gun, I think I got ahead of myself earlier. At some point, do you enter 11331 White Rock Terrace?
Yes.
Okay. And what is your, what do you do when you enter, when you are processing this scene? You said you'd already taken outside photos?
Yes.
And so what's the next step?
I start to take photos into the inside, and I entered through the garage door, which was open. I entered then into a hallway where there was a laundry room on the left side of me. And then as I continued down the hallway, there was 2 bedrooms on my left side. And then there was a bathroom at the very end of this hallway.
And so do you document the entire inside of the house before there's any searches or evidence collected?
Yes.
And is that what you did in this case?
Yes.
Ms. Conlon, I'm going to show you states 34 through 82. It'll take you a minute, but if you'll go through each of those and let me know when you're done.
So, sounds like they're going to be showing crime scene photos. I don't know how much of it we're going to be seeing. I was just making sure we're all caught up. We are completely caught up. I bet she did. I bet a lot of people did. A lot of people, a lot of defendants.
You looked at them all?
Yes.
And do you recognize states 34 through 82?
I do.
And how do you recognize them?
Those are the photographs I took.
Defendants and defendants.
And do they appear to fairly and accurately depict the home as it was when you documented it and then collected evidence back in September of 2020?
Yes.
And I'm also going to show you state 16. It's laying there. You kind of were describing the layout.
Mhm.
Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And how do you recognize it?
It's the residence.
And does it depict the portion of the residence we are going to discuss this afternoon?
Yes.
Your Honor, this time the state would ask to enter states 16 and states 34 through 82.
Any objection?
None.
They'll all be received.
Thank you, Your Honor. And may I publish?
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Conlon, would that sketch, if I had blown it up, assist you in describing the house as we walk through it?
Yes.
And can you take a look at this blow up and tell me if it is an accurate depiction of state 16?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Taylor, feel free to reposition yourself as you need to get a clear view of what's going on.
Perfect, thank you, sir.
Okay, Ms. Conlon, we're gonna, you have a pointer there. So we're gonna kind of walk through this house, through your pictures and this
Good.
sketch if you don't mind. Okay, so you said you entered through the garage. Will you just point out for the jury where that is in this
Right
picture? Or the sketch, sorry.
Right
Okay,
Garage.
and then you already said you went in through a laundry room. So you just kind of point to where you walked through.
And I walk through here.
And I'm gonna steal this.
Seems as though the camera is not sure whether it should be showing this or not. If they started to show it.
I'm gonna start with states 34.
They're going to focus on Ashley's face.
What is this picture?
This is the driveway of the residence.
And this is the 1331, right?
Correct.
And that's a U-Haul truck.
Correct.
Okay. And then this is states 35. What is this?
This is still the driveway, and this is one of the storage pods and the U-Haul.
And then you said you went in through the garage.
Correct.
This is states 36. Where are you standing in this photo? When you take this photo, sorry.
I'm standing right in the entranceway of the garage.
And then states 37. What do we see here?
Still the garage.
And what is that doorway that's depicted in the middle of states 37?
So that's the hallway. And then once I enter that hallway, the laundry room's right there on the left-hand side.
And states 38, is this laundry room you were just discussing?
Yes.
And then once you go through the laundry room, what's the first thing you encounter?
Past the laundry room, there's a bedroom, which is right here.
And did you enter that bedroom and document it with a photo?
Yes, I did.
And that's states 39. Is this that bedroom that on the sketch is labeled child's bedroom?
Yes.
And were there things in this bedroom that indicated to you that potentially a child lived in that bedroom?
Yes.
Such as?
There was a small mattress and there were some items in the closet. There's the second bedroom.
And we're going to come back to that one. Eventually, do you go through into the living room area?
Yes. So once I get to the end of the hallway, then I start my photos around here in the kitchen.
And this is states 40. What area are we looking at here?
You're in the living room right now.
And this, we're going to have dueling laser pointers. This here, what door is that?
That's the front door.
Okay. So that's on the right side of this picture.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And then here, is that the same front door on the left side of this picture states 41?
Yes.
Okay. And what are you depicting here?
The dining room.
And then in states 42, where are you standing now when you take states 42?
So I'm standing in the living room and I'm closest to the kitchen, like right in this area.
Thank you. And did you document the kitchen?
Yes.
And where is this was this a pantry in states 43?
Yes.
Okay, and where is it?
It's right there.
And then this is this sketch is only the part of the house that we're going to talk about today, is that right?
Correct.
Where is there something past the kitchen and those bathrooms there?
Yes, there's a master bedroom and bathroom in this area.
And did you go back and document that room?
I did.
Did you find anything of evidence in that room?
No, I didn't.
Thank you. Once you walked through the whole home and you said you had gone into that bedroom we called Miss Benefield's bedroom on the sketch, do you also document any evidence that you find?
Yes.
So I'm going to show you states 44. Can you tell us what we're seeing here and then show us where this would be on that sketch?
So that's blood, and that's the entranceway of this bedroom right here. So it would be going this way.
And just to be clear, the wood part would be the bedroom and the tile would be the hallway?
Correct.
And then, is this the same entranceway from a different angle?
Yes.
And were you made aware of what that smear was from, or that blood mark?
Yes.
And what was it?
It was from the victim being dragged out to be worked on.
And did it go all the way, did it start in that bedroom?
Yes.
And where did it end?
It ended at the front door.
And I'll show you states 46. I think it's a little more clear, but this is the bedroom.
Correct.
Thank you. And then what bedroom is this?
This is once again the same bedroom.
And this is 47. And we'll call this Miss Benefield's bedroom, if that's okay with you.
Okay.
And so what are we looking at here?
I've started to take my photographs like in a 360 inside the bedroom. So I'm documenting right now the blood that's right there in the middle.
On there. Circle it, I guess. There you
So,
go.
yeah.
Thank you. And that states 47. Oh. The state's 48. There's some, would you call them bifold doors there?
Yes.
And what is that we're looking at the base of?
That's the closet.
And then this is states 49. Is that the same closet?
Yes.
Thank you. And then you said you did a 360 view. Does that mean you take pictures of the whole room?
Yes, corner to corner, as best I can.
Thank you. And this is states 50. What are you documenting here?
Once again, the room, I'm just standing at a different corner, and then I'm starting to focus in on the casings that are in the room.
And after you've gone through these pictures, do you later mark items of evidence in a certain way?
Yes.
And how do you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I will come back and place evidence markers down by anything that I think is evidence.
And did you do that in this room?
I did.
I'm going to show you states 51. This is the same bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. So what markers do we see here?
You're seeing 1 through 6.
And do you then also kind of zoom in or get closer pictures of what each item you're documenting?
Yes.
And so we'll start with, this is state 52. That's that same room we've been seeing, right?
Yes.
Okay. And in states 51, we can see that next to the room is marker number 1.
Yes.
Okay. So it's just kind of hidden in this picture. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So if I'm capable, I'm going to try to zoom in. What are you documenting in state 1?
I'm starting to get close-ups of the evidence markers and the casings that are next to them.
Okay. And so at at markers 1, 2, and 3 here in states 52, what are those 3 items?
They're casings.
This computer is killing me. And then in states 53, where are you standing now?
Now my back is towards the wall, so I'd be right in front of evidence markers 1, 2, and 3.
And we see 4 and 6. What other markers do we see that we have not seen before in this picture?
So 4 and 6 and 5. 5, 4 is in the corner.
And then is that white sticker on the wall a marker also?
Yes, that's 7 is.
And states 54 accomplishes what I tried to accomplish a moment ago. These are the closer up pictures of 1, 2, and 3.
Correct.
And did you collect those 3 casings?
I did.
I'm going to show you what's been pre-marked as states 4, 5, and 6. Will you take a look at those 3 items and tell me if you recognize them?
Yes, I do.
And how do you recognize them?
They've got it's my ID, my last name, my seal.
And do they, other than having been repackaged for trial purposes, do states 4, 5, and 6 appear in the same or substantially the same condition as when you packaged them?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state would ask to enter 4, 5, and 6.
Any objection to states 4, 5, and 6? Received.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now we're at state's picture 55. What are you depicting here?
Pardon.
So there's a casing there, but also a close up of the blood.
And did you collect that casing?
I did.
Same question on state 7. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And how do you recognize it?
My last name, my ID, my seal.
And other than being repackaged, does it appear to be in the same or substantially the same condition as when you packaged it?
It does.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would ask to enter state 7.
Any objection to states 7?
No, sir.
Received.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Judge, could we just publish by having these casings passed, these 4 casings passed?
You see him?
Yes, sir. You want to-
No, I just need to just hold my phone. Yes, you may pass those.
Thank you.
I had to turn that down a little bit because that ambient paper shuffling noise is just killing my brain cells. Wouldn't it be wonderful if someone could come up with
You got them all, Deputy? All right, ma'am.
Thank you, Judge.
technology?
To show you state
solution for-
56, we see 1, 2, and 3, which we've already discussed, but also number 5. What were you documenting with tent number 5?
There's a projectile at 5.
And in states 57, is that a close-up of that projectile?
Yes.
And did you collect it?
Yes.
You take a look at states 9 and tell me if you recognize it.
I do.
And how do you recognize it?
It's my last name, my ID, and my seal.
And other than being
Is that
repackaged
right?
for court purposes, does it appear to be in the same or substantially the same condition as when you collected it from marker number 5?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would ask to enter states 9.
No objection.
Received.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now we're looking back out of the same bedroom. Is that correct?
Correct.
This is states 58. And we see a marker we have not seen before in the middle there. Well, a couple. But that first one in the hallway.
Check the leading.
I'll sustain. She can explain.
Thank you. Can you tell me which markers we see in this picture?
So going out into the hallway towards the front door is 13, 14, 15.
And would you point to them if you don't mind with that laser pointer?
Right there, there, and there.
And then on the wall, do we see a marker, or is there any other markers besides number 6 and the ones you just discussed?
Number 7,
And what were you documenting with number 7?
a projectile hole.
And this is states 59. Is that the same hole?
Yes.
Thank you. And at some point, did you attempt to determine what happened to the projectile after it went through number 7?
Yes,
And were you able to figure that out?
yes.
And where did it go?
It ended up in the bathroom's door frame.
And do you have some type of equipment that you use to try to help you in that, to figure out the path of a bullet?
A trajectory rod? Yes,
And did you use that in this case?
I did.
Okay. I'm going to show you state 60, and if you could describe for the jury what they're seeing here, please.
So the hole starts at 7 and enters. So that's an entryway. Then this is where it ended up. So the projectile's right there at 11 in the door frame.
Thank you. And did you document the path that it took?
I did.
Okay. So that was state 60, if I didn't state it for the record. This is state 61.
So that would be on the other side of 7. So 7's an entry, 8 is an exit. So that's going into the bathroom cabinet underneath the sink.
And if you can, well, I guess, so 7 would be on the opposite side of the wall?
In the bedroom, correct.
Thank you. And then after it left 8, did you determine where it went?
Its path continued through the cabinet door.
And this is state 62. What do we see here?
So now it is entering the cabinet door. So that's what number 9 is labeling.
Thank you. And what's this in states 63?
So that's the same cabinet door, and this is it exiting that cabinet door.
And this is state 64 for perspective. Will you show us, just point to where states, the marker 10 is?
Right there.
10, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, 10.
And did you determine the final resting place of this projectile?
I did.
And where was it?
It's at 11 in the door frame.
So this is state 65. What's this?
That is where the projectile ended up.
And state 66, what do we see here?
That is a close-up, and you can actually see the projectile right there.
And did you dig it out of the wall?
I did.
And state 67, what do we see here?
That is, it's been dug out, so that's just showing that it came out and it's right there.
And did you collect that projectile?
I did.
I'm going to show you state 8. Same questions. Do you recognize it?
I do.
And how do you recognize it?
My last name, my ID, and my seal.
And other than being repackaged for court purposes, does it appear to be in the same or substantially the same condition as when you removed it from the wall back in September of 2020?
It does.
At this time, the state would ask to enter states 8.
No objection.
Received?
I'm going to show you state 68. Can you tell me what you're documenting here?
So that is the blood trail. So I'm now in the living room, dining room area. So that's 14, 15, and 16 are all blood.
And we saw a 14, 15, and 16 in a previous picture. Are these the same ones?
Yes,
You only use each number once.
correct.
Thank you. And this door, what is the door in the middle of this picture?
That's the front door.
And then state 69, what do we see here?
So I continued outside because there was more blood outside. So that is right in the front entrance outside the front door. So it would be right in this area. So that's 17 and 18 with blood.
Thank you. And when you said this area, you pointed, but I didn't see. Would
Yes,
you mind?
right in this area.
Thank you. Did you locate any other projectiles in the home?
I did.
And where was it? Where was it? One or more?
It's one more, just one more.
And where was it?
It's in the living room.
And did you document that with photos?
I did.
I'm going to show you state 70. What do we see here? And if you could just show us on that sketch where we're looking.
So this is the living room and it's right by the front door. So this is the front door. So it's right here in this area. So there's the window. So it's right there.
Thank you. And what is this item in state 71, if you know?
It's some kind of shelving.
And what are you documenting in this photo?
The path that the projectile took.
And can you just point to the jury what you used?
Right there, and there's the projectile hole.
Thank you. And this is state 72. Is this the projectile you just told us about?
It is.
And did you remove it from the wall
I did.
and you collected it?
I did.
I'll show you states 10. Do you recognize it?
Yes, I do.
And how do you recognize it?
My last name, my ID, and my seal.
And does, other than repackaged for trial purposes, does it appear to be in the same or substantially the same condition?
It does.
Your Honor, the state would ask to enter states 10.
No objection.
Received.
And may I have the deputy pass 8, 9, and 10, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, State.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Conlon, did you find any firearms in this home?
I did.
And I want to show you states 49. We previously viewed it. What do we see here in 49?
The backpack that's in the closet.
And did you search that backpack?
I did.
And did you document that search?
I did.
And so this is state 73. Is that the same backpack?
Yes.
And what did you find inside that backpack?
A firearm.
Did you find anything to indicate to you whose backpack it was?
There was a driver's license.
And this is state 74. Is this the driver's license you found in the backpack?
Yes.
And would you mind telling me the name on it?
Ashley Benefield.
Thank you. And what do we see here in state 75?
That's the firearm.
And then at some point later, once you collected it, did you lay it out and document it?
I did.
I'm going to show you state 76. And let me ask you first, what kind of firearm was it?
It was a 6 Sauer 380.
And in state 76, is that the same firearm?
Yes.
I can zoom in if you, maybe. To be sure, or give you the other picture. Is that the 6 Sauer?
It is.
Thank you. And I'm going to show you states 43. We saw this picture. This is in the kitchen?
Yes.
Okay. And did you find anything of evidentiary value in that pantry?
Yes.
And what was it?
A firearm.
And can we see it here in this picture?
You can't see it, but it's where the Jiffy peanut butter is. There's a basket, and it's in that basket.
And so now, state 77, is that the same Jiffy or Jif?
Yeah.
Okay. And 78.
The basket's been taken down to a lower shelf, and then the firearm's in there.
And did you also later document this firearm on some brown paper?
I did.
And in state 79, is that what we see?
Yes.
And what kind of firearm was that?
It was a Springfield 9mm.
Thank you. Did you collect, and I'm sorry, let's go back to the SIG that was in the closet. Was it loaded?
It was.
And you said that was a 380?
Yes.
And the one that this one we're looking at here, was it loaded?
Yes.
Okay. And in this picture, can you tell us what all we see in this picture?
It's been secured. So if the slide is back, this is the magazine. So there was 1 in the chamber and then 9 in the magazine.
And they're still in the magazine at this point?
Correct.
Thank you. And I know you already said 9mm?
Yes.
Thank you. Just don't want to get them confused. Did you collect any other items of evidence from the home?
Yes.
Okay. And what were they?
2 cell phones were collected.
And I'm going to show you states 80. What is this item?
That is a cell phone which was on the living room couch.
And you collected it?
I did.
Your Honor, may I approach the clerk?
Yes.
Yeah, let's grab everything. Ms. Conlon, I'm showing you states 11. Can you take a look at that and tell me if you recognize it?
Yes, I do.
And is that the phone we see I'm sorry, what is it?
It is the cell phone that's on the couch.
And how do you recognize it?
It's the same color, everything.
And is it documented with this case number and the time of this case?
Yes.
And other than possibly some paperwork being added, does it appear to be the same or substantially the same condition?
Yes.
The state would ask to enter states 11.
No objection.
Received.
Thank you. And how many phones did you collect?
2
And where was the second phone?
in the garage.
And what do we see here in states 81?
So it's a shelf. So it's right outside, going back to the garage. So it's a shelf that's right here at the entryway into the house. So there was a shelf area.
And is that same phone depicted in states 82?
Yes.
I'm showing you states 12. Do you recognize it?
Yes.
And how do you recognize it?
The case number, what kind of phone it was. And the date that this occurred.
Thank you. I didn't mean to interrupt you. And does it appear to be in the same or substantially the same condition as when you collected it back in September of 2020?
It does.
Your Honor, the state would ask to enter states 12.
No objection.
Received.
Once you collected these phones, what did you do with them?
Everything was secured back in the lab once I cleared the scene, but these 2 phones were assigned over to a detective so they can be searched.
And what detective was that?
Ski, Blazinski,
Thank you. His last name?
Plazinski.
Thank you.
I just call him Ski.
That was kind of funny.
Other than what-
Ski. Oh, I mean,
After what we've just gone through from September 27th, were you later asked to do something else in this case?
Yes.
And when was that?
That was on October 1st
And what were you asked to do?
to photograph Ashley Benefield.
And did you do that?
I did.
And where did that take place?
In our CID.
And I'm going to show you states 83, 84, and 85. You haven't seen these today. Do you recognize them?
Yes.
And how do you recognize them?
They're the photos I took of Ashley.
And do they appear, or do they fairly and accurately depict how she appeared to you back in October 1st, 2020?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, state would ask to enter and publish 83, 84, and 85.
No objection.
Received.
And what was the purpose of taking pictures of her?
So this was after the night that everything occurred. And I know Megan took pictures of her that night, but sometimes bruising does not show up for a couple days. So that was why I went back to take pictures of her.
And did you observe any injuries on her body?
There were scratches. Yes.
I'm going to show you states 83. What's the purpose of this photo?
It's just to show who I'm taking a picture of.
And did you observe any injuries to Ms. Benefield's face or neck?
I did not.
And then states 84.
So that's the scratches.
And just for orientation purposes, that's the right side of her body.
Yes.
Thank you. And states 85.
The scratch in her back.
And for orientation purposes, what side of her body would that be?
Actually, I'm sorry, it's not her back. It's hold on, I gotta see this real quick. I believe it's right under her bra line.
It's been cropped quite down.
Yeah. So it's the right side of her body.
Thank you. And were you asked to conduct any further investigation in this case?
No.
Your Honor, may I have just a moment with co-counsel? Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Conlon. I don't have any other questions.
They're probably going to break this day, I bet. Oh my God, there's my.
All right, Mr. Taylor, do you need any of the displays?
I'd like to just take a moment, Your Honor, and look through the pictures.
Wow, this judge, he just plows right on through. He's not a big break taker. I like it. Oops.
You break it, you buy it.
See, did you hear that? The lawyer just said, I'll break it if you buy it. And, you know, clearly that's just like a throw off muscle memory line. 2 weeks, Patricia, 2 weeks. But that's just like a throw off line. But that's basically saying,
So, Mr.
clean
Taylor,
up my
would you like
mess.
me to leave that on, or would you like me to get that out of your way?
Thinking.
You can pull it up.
That's
Yes, sir.
crook-like thinking. I love it when people's real thinking leaks out of their brain. That noise when they use automatic screen up or downer thing. Oh my God.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
You took more pictures on that day than were actually introduced here this afternoon.
Correct.
All right. Let me pass this one to you and see if it's one of the photographs that you took.
Sorry, Patricia, what does what mean?
Yes, of course.
Yes, I did take this photograph.
Okay. State chose not to offer that to you, so I'd like you to identify it for us.
It is Ashley. I'm assuming it's her maiden name, Byers. It is her. And
Oh, I'm sorry. He said, I'm sorry. I just went on a total rant about that. And then I'm like, what? What are you talking about? He said, I'll break it if you buy it. So he was taking a normal phrase that's used in retail stores and twisting it. Usually in retail stores, they put up a sign that says, you break it, you buy it. You break it, you buy it. Right? So he twisted that and said, I'll break it if you buy it. I'll break it if you buy it. You see what I'm saying? Because they were futzing with the equipment. Now, did he say you're breaking my diet? I didn't. Is that what it? Did he say you're breaking now? Oh gosh, I don't want to have to go back and see if he really said you're breaking my diet. If he said you're breaking my diet, I could be wrong. But I thought they were futzing with equipment, and he said, if you break it, I'll buy it. All right. I guess I'm going to have to go back to it.
You break it, you buy it.
Oh, okay. See, I guess I was wrong. It was the judge saying, you break it, you buy it. But I thought this guy said, you break it, I buy it. But let's see, he may have. I'll break it if you buy it. I could have sworn he said that. Oh, I was wrong.
So, Mr. Taylor, would you like me to leave that on, or would you like me to get that out of your way?
Wait,
You can pull it up.
Yes, sir.
let me make sure. Let's make sure.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Yeah, I was wrong.
Firearm license.
Okay. And is it an accurate reproduction, just like all the other photographs that you took on that day?
Yes.
Sorry, y'all.
We move respectfully, Your Honor, introduce it as defense exhibit number 2.
Any objection?
No, I recognize the state police, we don't.
Thank you. Received.
I want.
Is that what, I'm sorry, so has that already been marked?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
We pre-marked all of them.
thank you.
Ms. Conlon, I want to just concentrate for a moment on the cell phone that you said that was on the couch. Ms. Conlon, you, under type of case, noted as a homicide.
Correct.
When you're photographing this scene and executing your duties, all you know is that somebody died as a result of what happened there.
Correct.
You don't know whether or not it was a crime.
I do not know.
That's why you call it a homicide.
Correct.
If you knew it was a crime, you'd call it a murder.
Correct.
Nothing further.
Redirect?
Well, that seemed senseless.
Sorry, just 1 second.
We're all
All right. Hold on 1 second. Can she be released? Can she be released from her subpoena?
No, we'd like to keep her under subpoena, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Conlon,
In
you were
Your
not
Honor, I
released
would
from your
like-
trial.
I'm sorry. I'll let you finish.
You were not released from your trial subpoena,
the rule of sequestration has been invoked, so that means you cannot discuss your testimony here today with anyone outside this courtroom, including the attorneys. You can't talk about it with any other witnesses. You can't talk with witnesses about what they testified about or what questions were asked of them. All right, so remain available.
Yes.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Ron, can we publish defense exhibit two, please?
Wait,
Absolutely, yes.
that too. That's his.
Yes, defense two.
Just a photograph.
Well, hold on, but the deputy has something else in his hand.
That's the report. Yeah, that was his,
That's yours.
yes.
All right. And we'll publish two. And Ms. Conlon, there's a lot of stuff flying around. Just look through your file, make sure that.
That I did not.
Yeah. Everything's yours?
Yes.
All right, ma'am. You're free to go for now. Be available if they need you again.
Yes.
Thank you.
Judge, can we approach?
Yes, while they're looking at defense two, go ahead and approach.
It's 4:30 there. They're most likely going to break for the day because I think the state brought the two witnesses they had that at an earlier break. They said they had two more witnesses and I think they went through them. They're moving through this fairly quickly, but I think at this point as a juror, I still don't have the full picture of what happened. I mean, the jury in the room definitely has a much fuller picture of what happened because they're actually seeing pictures from the crime scene that we aren't seeing. They're seeing directional photos. There must not have been body cam because they haven't introduced body cam evidence yet at all. And just the 911 call. And I haven't heard them mention why there wasn't body cam. This incident happened in 2020. There would have been body cam at that time. So I'm not sure why. It looks like they've all agreed to something.
All right, members of the jury. So we've had a very busy day and talking with the attorneys. We're right on time. We're doing great. There's some couple of legal matters that I need to address before we go to tomorrow, just to kind of smooth things out and make sure the presentation doesn't take up too much of your time and it's as smooth as possible. And I think what I'd prefer to do is go ahead and let you all go for the evening now. And then we're going to stay and work. I don't want you to think we're going to run home right now. We're going to stay and work, talk about tomorrow, and get it all worked out so we can hit the ground running tomorrow. Now, I had originally said that tomorrow morning I might need to start late because I had court. That resolved itself, but I think we're still moving along pretty good. So I think we're going to look for a 9 o'clock start time tomorrow. So if you could be downstairs in the jury assembly room at, I almost said 7:45, 8:45. That should be plenty of time. The deputies will come get you. Is anybody picking tomorrow?
My goodness, she is so
Do you know if
bony.
anybody's been released?
She just barely, she doesn't fill in her clothes at
There
all.
won't be any jurors. Okay. I was just checking because
Very
a lot of times we'll pick juries on Mondays and Wednesdays. I was just checking to see if there's going to be a whole bunch of people down there. The clerk says probably not. So you probably have the room to yourself. If there are people there for civil juries or something like that, if you all could kind of stay generally in the same area, sit right next to each other. But that way we kind of know where everybody's at. So you're free to go for the evening, maybe beat the traffic. But remember, please, last night you got home and family and friends at work was probably asking, how's it going? You got to say, hey, I don't know anything yet. We haven't done opening statements. All we do is pick the jury. But now you've heard some testimony. So at this point, it's going to become even more important for you to follow these rules of no discussion amongst yourselves, no discussions about the case with anyone outside of this room, and make sure you try and avoid the news or don't, look at your favorite websites.
Not even anybody inside
Try
the
and
room.
avoid doing any research research on the people, places, things, or legal topics that you've heard anything about. Remember too, I don't know about you, but my fingers and my toes are pretty cold, so dress warm or dress appropriate so you can come and adjust as you need. I don't know if anybody brought snacks, but as you see, we have breaks throughout the day. So if you do want to bring something, they can bring coolers in. Can't they?
I'll discuss that with them.
Okay, they'll discuss that with you because I want you to be able to bring in snacks as you need. All right, you're all set for the evening. We'll see you back here. Yes, please leave the notes. Those must stay here. If you just put them face down on your chairs, the deputies will pick them up and we'll hand them back out tomorrow. All right, we'll see you in the morning. You too. Yeah. Okay, you all can have a seat. Yeah, I was also going to say it's only been about an hour since the last break, but does anybody want to step out for a minute?
I would like to.
Okay.
No, let's go.
I'll take a 5-minute break though. That way, if you guys want to stretch your legs.
Okay, well, they're taking a break. And in all honesty, I may regret doing this, but I don't feel like sticking around to hear whatever they're going to be talking about. It's probably going to be very procedural. And even if there's something exciting happens, we'll be able to catch it. We'll talk about it tomorrow. But it has been a long day and not extraordinarily exciting. I still need to know more before I have my own verdict. But Patricia, you're a tall drink of water. Yes, we will resume tomorrow. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for being respectful in the chat. Thank you for your wonderful senses of humor and for keeping me company. Thank you for remembering to hit the thumbs up. And I will see you tomorrow when they start. I'll start a little bit later so we can zoom past the dead spots. All right. Thank you very, very, very much. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Cinnamon Girl. Bye.